Okay, we can call to order and we will stand for the flag salute. Second time's the best time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and Claire, if we can have a roll call, please. Present.
Ashkenazi?
Here.
Laura?
Here.
Lineski?
Here.
Caramanica?
Here.
Chairwoman Keel?
Here. Okay. The notice requirements of the open public meeting law for this meeting have been satisfied. A copy of the notice having been sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Coaster and filed in the office of the Township Clerk on July 21st, 2023. There is an emergency exit through the courtroom doors and 2 exits at the rear of the room. There will be no smoking, no new cases started after 10 o'clock p.m., and no new testimony after 10:30 p.m. In addition, the applicant will be limited to 45 minutes of testimony. All meetings will be video and audio taped and shown on the Township of Ocean's Community Cable Channel 22 on Verizon Fios and Channel 77 on Cablevision. All cell phones must be turned off, or if you need to make a call, please make your call outside of the room. We have 2 resolutions for memorialization. Timothy Appert, Block 37, Lot 28, 13 Tilton Avenue in Ocean, and Robert and Mary Ann Bedford, Block 89, Lot 5, 15 North Ditmar Drive in Ocean. And I will offer. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Delomo? Littman?
Yes.
Ashkenazi?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Lineski?
Yes.
Chairwoman Keel?
Yes. Okay, the following cases requested to be carried to March 21st, 2024, and seeking not to renotice to be held in the public meeting room, Municipal Building Deal in Monmouth Road, Oakhurst, Ocean Gas LLC, IAAT Services LLC, Block 182, Lot 87, 1418 Highway 35 in Ocean, Antonio Galena, IAAT Services LLC, Block 34, Lot 12, 1700 Highway 35 in Ocean. Our first,
Well, let me just so everybody knows, so if anyone was here on either of those 2 applications, you need to be here on March 21st, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. You will not receive any further notice.
okay. Our first case is Michael Giuseppe, Block 159, Lot 43, 78 Cold Indian Springs Road, Ocean, R2. Okay, if you can come up, please. And do you, if you can raise your right hand, do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth?
Yes.
Okay, and if you can state your name and address for the record again.
Mike Giuseppe, 78 Colt Indian Springs Road, Ocean, New Jersey.
Okay, so from the last time that we heard the case, there were plans that needed to be submitted with the new coverage percent, covering Cold Indian Springs Road, dedicating Cold Indian Springs Road to the town by deed. And we have the new plan, and we're going to have just additional information shared by Mr. Matlack, and then we'll go into public comment.
Okay.
So a new plan, grading plan was submitted with the revised coverages. The grading plan shows that there was an existing retaining wall that extended onto the neighboring property that is being removed, and it requires grading on the neighboring property to regrade. So an easement was requested for that grading.
Okay, and Claire, we will mark that into as A1. And Mr. Giuseppe, do you have any other testimony that you want to share?
I don't.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if just I may, I know you submitted a document signed by your neighbor.
Correct.
That's not an easement. All that is permission from them for you to do something on the property. So there's going to have to actually be a recorded easement if the board is so inclined to approve this application.
Okay.
So that's something you're gonna have to work out with an attorney, presumably, and get your neighbors to give you that grading easement. It's gonna have to be referred back to the board attorney and the board engineer to review to make sure it's done right, and it's gonna be recorded with the county clerk's office.
Okay.
Okay, so just so you know, because I have a feeling in your head, you probably feel like you already did that, but it's not. What you did is not an easement.
Okay.
All right.
I was told that I just needed to get something from the neighbors to approve that they could, if we needed to go on their property to grade the property, that would be okay.
Understood.
So-
And you have that.
Okay.
But it's not an easement because the difference is that there's nothing right now recorded that keeps what they're giving you permission for now into perpetuity. So tomorrow they could go and change everything and it would be irrelevant. So in order to preserve what you are doing and make sure that it doesn't change, there needs to be an easement.
Okay.
So that's what's going to be requested as a condition of approval.
Actually be required.
It'll be required.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It'll be
Just-
required, it'll have to be
yeah.
recorded.
So you understand is, until that's done, even if the board approves your application, you don't have an approved application. That's a condition, the condition has to be fulfilled before the application becomes an officially approved application.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I just wanted to
knew
make that clear.
nothing about that till now. Okay.
And you wouldn't have, so don't, so.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if there was something I missed or
Missed
whatever.
nothing, and it wouldn't
Okay.
have been expected for you to come in with an easement already because the application is not approved yet. And we don't even know if it's going to be, so we've got to go through the motions here.
Okay.
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 Okay, are there any questions from board members? Questions from the public? Any questions? Okay, a motion to close the public hearing?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I explain to him the reason we're doing this? That's a little confusing. Is that okay?
Well, I think the attorney,
I think I just tried to, and I just.
do you have any questions, sir, for the attorney?
No,
or
I'll find an attorney and find out what I need to do to appease this easement,
Okay.
right? That's
No
what I
question.
need to do? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you talk to any attorney, they're going to be able to help you out, and Bennett's going to be able to help you with the actual language, of what they're looking for as far as the description is concerned.
And you'll
Okay.
probably need an attorney also if you're going to be dedicating the Cold Indian Springs portion of your property that's actually Cold Indian Springs Road. An attorney will have to help you do that too. So the same one could do both.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
I'm like, Jen's doing it, so.
Wow, she magically appears.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I
Any-
assure you, Ms. Primco understands what we're saying.
Any questions from the public? Okay, motion to close the public hearing? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Claire?
Whitman,
Yes.
Ashkenazi,
Yes.
Kimura,
Yes.
Malinsky,
Yes.
Caramanica,
Yes.
Chairwoman Deal.
Yes. Okay, and I will offer a positive resolution with the condition of providing the grading easement. Is there a second?
Second.
Whitman,
Yes.
Ashkenazi,
Yes.
Kimura,
Yes.
Malinsky,
Yes.
Caramanica,
Yes.
Chairwoman Deal.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Giuseppe.
thank
Best
you.
of luck. Next case, Alan Sassone, Block 24, Lot 1, 300 Monmouth Road, West Deal, R2. Applicant is seeking to replace and enlarge an existing uncovered front porch. Uncovered front porch does not meet the required 50 feet front yard setback. Minimum front yard setback, 50 feet required, 48.8 feet proposed. And
And Madam Chair, I do have, let me just mark in what I have as far as exhibits, and I apologize if I do things a little bit differently than Mr. Steinberg, just
That's fine.
bear with me. There's a method to my madness, and it all works out for me, so. All right, Exhibit A1 will be the application itself. Exhibit A2 is the zoning plan. And then we have the board zone exhibits. Exhibit B1, as in Board 1, will be the zoning officer's denial letter. Exhibit B2 will be the zoning officer's report. Exhibit B3 will be the board planner's report, and Exhibit B4 will be the board engineer's report. Those are all the exhibits that I have.
Okay. And did I pronounce that correctly? Is it Sassone?
You're good. Thank you.
Okay, good enough, okay. Mr. Sassone, will you raise your right hand? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth?
Nothing but the truth.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you can just state your name and address for the record?
Alan Sasson, 300 Monmouth Road, Westfield, New Jersey, 07723.
Okay, and I will turn it over to Mr. Higgins and then Mr. Matlack to give their report.
Okay, now, as I understand the application, the applicant has an existing front porch. It's set back 48 feet 9 inches, where 50 feet is required by the ordinance. And he's simply replacing the existing porch in the same location. And I guess we need some clarification. I didn't think it was being expanded, and I know the agenda says it's being expanded, so we should need that clarified. But the setback's going to remain exactly the same, and I don't see any substantial impact.
Okay, Mr. Matlack?
The only thing is, in accordance with the township requirements, a grading plan is required for all projects that disturb more than 200 square feet of soil. So a grading plan should be submitted, and I don't have an issue as that if that is a condition of any approval.
Okay, so Mr. Sasson, if you can tell us about your request and address possible extension and the grading plan.
So the request is, like what everybody said, I want to take the existing porch, just repair it, put steps, and conform for the law, that's all. I just need like another foot, the way the architect drew the plans. I just need another foot to conform to the plans. I just need an extra foot to make it, the construction.
Okay. And any issues with providing the grading plan?
No, I
to-
could acquire that. Yeah.
Okay.
If that's one of the conditions, not a problem.
Okay, any questions from board members? Questions from the public? Okay, motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
Goodman,
Yes.
Eskenazi,
Yes.
Kimura,
Yes.
Janeski,
Yes.
Carmanica,
Yes.
Beverly Hills.
Yes. Okay, and is there a positive resolution?
One motion for a positive.
Whitman,
Yes.
Eskenazi,
Yes.
Kimura,
Yes.
Janeski,
Yes.
Carmanica,
Yes.
Beverly Hills.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Best
Thank
of
you.
luck.
Appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Okay, the next case is Maurice Sauer and Linda Mizrachi, Block 138, Lot 89, 801 Darlene Avenue, Ocean R1. Applicant is seeking board approval to change the grade more than 2 feet in connection with the construction of the in-ground pool. The original plan, which received both zoning and engineering approvals, did not have a change in grade greater than 2 feet. And Mr. Schrower? Soror, okay.
And we do
And,
the same thing, Madam Chair?
yes.
So the Exhibit A1 will be the application, Exhibit A2 will be the survey, Exhibit A3 will be the variance plan, and then the board exhibits will be Exhibit B1 is the zoning officer's report, Exhibit B2 will be the board planner's report, and Exhibit B3 will be the board engineer's report. And then I guess we're going to have an A4. If
This was the A3 that you.
That's just A3, okay, that's fine. That's all I have.
Okay. And Mr. Soror, if you can raise your right hand, do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth?
I do.
Okay, and if you can state your name and address for the
Sure.
record.
My name is Maurice Soror. I live at 801 Darlene Avenue, Ocean, New Jersey, 07712.
Okay. And, oh, please have a seat.
Thank you. Madam Chair, if I could just introduce myself, Joseph Mancini with Tri-State Engineering Surveying. We prepared the survey and variance plan, so to the extent the board requires
Well,
it-
we got to swear you in, too.
absolutely, that's what I'm waiting. That's what I'm leading up to.
Why do you do that or I do it?
I've done it.
Okay, go
Okay,
for it.
Mr. Mancini, correct?
Correct.
Do you, if you can raise your right hand, do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth?
I do.
Okay. And have you testified before this board
I
previously?
have not, so I can offer my qualifications if it
Okay.
pleases the board. I'm a licensed professional engineer and planner in New Jersey. I graduated from NJIT with a Bachelor in Science in Civil Engineering. I've worked in land development, specifically in civil engineering and land planning for the last 25 years. During that time, I've been qualified as an expert in those areas before many planning and zoning boards throughout New Jersey.
Will accept.
Thank you so much. Just want to start with Maurice, talking a little bit about himself and the property, and then I'll walk the board through the couple of variances that we need, if that's okay.
Okay, just one quick, if Mr. Higgins and Mr. Matlack can just
My
give us an
report is
overview.
very brief. The only variance they need is that they're changing the grade more than 2 feet in a small location at the northwest corner of the pool I think it's been constructed already, if I'm not mistaken. Partially constructed. And from a planning standpoint, I don't have any real concerns about it. I think the issues here are more engineering than they are planning.
Okay, Mr. Matlack?
Yes, so actually my report and Mr. Higgins' report both kind of requested the same thing, a variance plan that showed the pre-existing contours relative to what the final proposed finished product is going to look like. That was provided. The only other comment that I have is a drainage maybe modification. The 100-year water surface elevation in their drainage system, it looks like it might be surcharging out of one of the inlets in the back corner of the property. I think a modification is required to make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay, Mr. Mancini?
Mr. Mancini, I don't think you need to go into background or anything like that. As
That's
our
fine.
professionals just said, this is an engineering issue, so.
That's fine, and I'm very comfortable working out that as a technical issue. If the board sees fit to grant us an approval tonight as a condition of approval, I'm happy to address that in our stormwater management plan. Just for context, when we were made aware of the variance that was necessary for raising the grade more than the 2 feet, and it's about 2.4 feet, that's when we looked into how to mitigate that with respect to dealing with the drainage. Right? I think there's a perception when you raise the grade more than 2 feet, how can that be detrimental to the neighboring properties? Obviously, runoff and drainage is the primary way that comes to mind. So there's a pretty significant underground storage area that's going to collect runoff from the roof, which generally flows to the back corner of the property. So just referring to A3 real quick, the existing partially constructed pool is here. And so the water generally runs south to north, so Darling Ave is at the bottom of the page. Wickapecco Drive is on the right side here. So the water generally flows south to north, and so we're basically going to intercept some of that water, put it underground, sort of mitigate that increase in runoff, really in excess of what the ordinance would typically require for a pool, because we are well within what's permitted in terms of impervious cover and building cover, but we're going to significantly mitigate that impact to the neighboring property. And additionally, Maurice is proposing landscaping along that common property line to sort of mitigate the visual impact. So I'm confident that we can address any technical concerns that Ben has. Just for clarification, there is one other variance that was requested, requesting a variance to allow a block seat wall, which was part of the paver patio in the rear yard. That's approximately 43.4 feet from the right-of-way of Wickapecco Drive, where of course we need 50-foot setback for a front yard in the R1 zone. So that's kind of hard to see on the plan, but it's this little seat wall here. There's a pretty significant wooded buffer of healthy evergreen trees along Wickapecco Drive. So as you drive down Wickapecco, you'll never see this seat wall, but it is technically within the front yard. And so we were asking for a variance to allow that to remain as well.
Okay. Mr. Higgins or Mr. Matlack, any concerns about that variance for the seat wall?
No, as I said, I think it's really engineering more than planning.
Okay.
Yep. No issues with that variance.
Okay. Any questions from board members?
Can you just walk us through how the yard drains and the drain, how that system actually works?
Yeah, sure. So, as I said, the site generally drains from south to north. So there is a series of yard drains along the common boundary, so the western boundary of the property, those yard drains. There's also where downspouts on the back of the house now would just drain overland, we're gonna intercept those roof drains. So when we're doing underground storage, we like to take roof runoff because it's cleaner, right? It's less likely to have pollutants in it, less likely to have leaves and debris. If we put proper gutter guards on the roof, it's quote-unquote cleaner water, so when we're putting that underground, it lengthens the functional life of the underground storage versus taking surface runoff. Could have lots of other things get in there and clog up the underground system. So instead of trying to pick up all of the surface runoff, we like to kind of grab an equivalent area of roof runoff, intercept that water. It still diminishes the volume and rate of water that's running off the site. So essentially, stormwater management is designed such that we're not just making it as good as it is today, we're making it better than it is today. And that's the goal, and that's the measurement that we are governed by. So essentially, by taking that roof runoff, reducing that down to essentially zero, controlling up to the 100-year storm, we really mitigate the impact downstream.
Where does it go after the yard drains inside into?
So it still overflows to the same location. There's really nowhere else to push the water other than where it goes today. So it still
Okay.
goes to this back corner, and as with every other residential development, it sort of flows along common lot lines.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
Is that why it wasn't in the original plans?
It wasn't in the original plans because it wasn't required necessarily by code because we were within what's allowed. I suspect that the pool was built a little bit bigger because there was trouble with balancing. Obviously, we're digging a pretty big hole. We're generating a lot of fill. Trucking that off site's very expensive. So I think without realizing it, the pool was built a little higher than, I wasn't on site for it, so I can't speak to it. But I'm opining that it was built a little higher to sort of balance the cut fill on the site. And we recognize that that creates a condition that's potentially perceived as detrimental to the neighbors, so it's our responsibility to mitigate that.
Any other questions from board members? Questions from the public? If you can go to the microphone, please, and state your name and your address.
My name is Antonio Russo, 805 Darlene Avenue, Ocean, New Jersey.
What's the address again?
805, the next door neighbor.
Okay.
Nice to meet you, neighbor. Unfortunately, I'm in bad conditions. They hired a pool guy.
We should swear him
Oh,
in.
yes, if you can raise your right hand, do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
I was just about to do that.
Okay, and your question?
My question is, they hired a pool guy. Unfortunately, he built the pool higher. Now we're here for another variance to raise the grade 2.5 feet. You have rules and regulations. You have permits. You have to fill them out. You have to go by the guidelines. If you don't, I can go build a 5,000 square foot house, and it's only supposed to be 2,500. But now I'm asking for a hardship variance because I already did it. This falls on the pool guy, not on you. And I'm sorry, we're under these conditions. The runoff that comes through my yard, I'm flooded. My neighbor's flooded, the women's club is flooded, so I can understand what he just said here with the drainage, but I still get it. You have a silk fence up, you planted grass, just like the pool guy said, oh, I'm gonna plant grass, this and that. Numerous times I said the grade was too high. They just kept going until I came to the township and they shut it down. So Greg did his job, the zoning officers did their job by shutting it down, but now here I am, I got 2 sub pumps in my basement. I still get 2 inches of water every time it rains. I got water in the corner of my property. I have a garden. I don't know what type of chemicals they're gonna use on the grass. Everything runs into my yard. It's just not right. For 4 or 5 years I've been dealing with this.
Okay.
And I have pictures, if you would like to look at the flooding, and if you don't mind me coming.
I would, if you could show it to the attorney first, please.
This was the original grade, where you could see
All right, well,
my shed.
no, that's okay. I mean, I'm gonna let you explain to the board what it is. We're just gonna mark it in. Exhibit, let's see, we can, R1 for Russo 1. be probably the best way to do it. It's a series of 4 photographs, and and again, will you tell the whole board what these 4 photographs are?
This is the original grade from when the property first got sold. Now, the second grade is, you can see the difference, how it's been raised up over 3 feet. Before, you could see, a fig tree in the corner of my garden, you see the roots. Now you don't see the roots. It's 3.5 feet up in the air.
All right, why don't you'll mark it? Okay. And then what else do we have?
Here's the flooding every time it rains through a silt fence, down the hill to my yard.
All right, so there are 2 photographs here, and when were these taken?
These were taken out right after the rainstorm. I have numerous photos.
Okay, but when? What rainstorm?
Within the past month.
Within the last month?
Yep.
That's the original.
Last month. All right, we're going to mark that in as R2.
Here's some more pictures of the flooding.
Okay, again, the same event within the last month?
That's correct.
Okay, we'll mark that in as R3 is a series of 3 photographs. Okay.
Here's the difference of the grade.
Explain that. What do you mean?
As far as the grade before, you stood in your property, you were the same size as my property. Now, this is the difference.
All right,
I
so
can stand on a 4-foot ladder.
R4 is a series of 4 photographs showing the difference in grade post the existing work. Well,
Sorry.
okay, so this is just additional photographs with the grade?
Correct.
All right, so this will be R4 is, it's 4 photographs post grade, and R5 is 3 photographs post grade. What else?
This is the cans of dirt they brought in to raise the property.
All right, but what does this prove?
Then you raised the grade.
Well, we can see that in that photograph, though, can't we? Yeah, I mean, we don't need extraneous.
There's more flooding 2 months ago.
All right, so R6 is 4 photographs post flooding. Okay, that's okay.
Good?
Yeah, it's your argument. So
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
This is you down here on this one?
Now, this is the back of their yard. This is what they built it up to. Everything goes into my yard. Goes into the women's club. It goes into the other neighbor's yard.
This is his yard.
and I just want to make sure that Mr. Mancini does get a copy, does get to see all these before that he can comment on them. But all right, Madam Chair, if Mr. Russo wants to continue.
So this did not happen prior to,
Never had that. So when you walk on my property, it's just like a sponge. And not only that, I put a second sub pump in my basement, and I keep getting water now. So you see what they did at the Wawa and the Chick-fil-A up there.
Just
with
speaking to the
with the
microphone.
catch basins. You know, maybe we need to do a catch basin here, throw some koi fish in it.
And when was the work done?
This has all been done in the past year.
It's all within 2023.
Yeah. It's been going on for years.
what's been
Yeah,
going on
I'm
for years?
confused.
They start construction, then they stop, then they start, then they throw more dirt.
When, I think with the question, when did the flooding start?
When did the flooding start? In the past year.
All right, but they've been doing the work on the pool the entire time.
Correct.
It's just within the last
just
year
raised the
they
grade,
raised it.
correct.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions or comments?
You should give Mr. Mancini now an opportunity to respond if he wishes.
Does he have do you have all the photographs?
I have, yes. I can't speak to what the conditions were before. I'll take Mr. Russo's testimony as true. We haven't installed the underground stormwater system, so I think that's really going to significantly impact and mitigate the runoff that goes to his site. I believe the pool originally construction started in 2021. I don't know how much of that happened over the past year, but I certainly don't discount what he said, but I think that's really what we're here to do, is to mitigate that impact visually and physically with a pretty substantial stormwater management system.
Okay. And Mr. Matlack, you had mentioned a draining modification. Did you get a chance to see the photographs? Based upon that, does it seem like it will help to mitigate that?
I didn't see the photographs. The drainage modification that I recommended was in the event of a 100-year storm, just to make sure that there are no negative impacts to the neighbors, that the entire system can handle the 100-year storm. I was going to ask if the stormwater improvements had been installed, because I understand it's partially constructed, and Mr. Mancini did answer that they haven't yet. So, you know, that's the intent, I'm sure, is to collect all the runoff that's coming off the site, so that it's not causing these issues.
Why was it necessary for the grading to be raised as high as it is?
You can have a seat, Mr.
I have a question for you before you go too far. We'll answer yours. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know that it was necessary. I think I'd be hard pressed to tell you that there's no way this could have been done without raising the grade more than 2 feet. I think it's a relatively small deviation. It's 0.4 feet, and that's not to say that we're being dismissive of the code. I think this code is there for a reason. But I don't know that 0.4 feet would have been substantially different visually than what's there today. I think, as I said earlier, my best guess is that just balancing the amount of excavation and the amount of fill so that we didn't have to either truck in a bunch of dirt, obviously we don't want to do that, or remove a bunch of dirt from the site, you tend to try to make that balance as much as possible. So where you've excavated for the pool, you try to spread that around the pool, and I think it just wasn't done as efficiently as it could have been done, and that's why we're here.
Just to clarify for board's edification, this applicant didn't do this work, correct? Or did he?
No, this is the property owner. The applicant is the contractor who was responsible for the construction, so that's
So
why.
it was this property owner?
It was this property owner, yes.
I'm just wondering if you can flatten it a little, level it, because if it has, the construction for the pool's been going on since 2021, is that correct, sir?
Yeah.
Yes, so, and
Again,
now
I'm
in 2023, excuse me, and now in 2023, the flooding began, so go back to the grading when it wasn't flooding. That just seems logical.
At this point, it would require ripping out the entire pool and starting over.
But that's not the board's
I
concern.
did not,
Correct,
I did not
that's-
suggest that it was the board's
I agree.
concern.
So someone's got to give some type of a reason why this variance should be granted in the first place. And it sounds like you've testified that there's no reason that it needed to go up this high in the first place.
Sure.
So what was the-
I find it difficult as a planner to make an argument as a C1 variance for a hardship when there's a reasonable case that could be made that the hardship is self-imposed, right? So looking at it from the C2 criteria, I look at benefits versus detriments. And we view it, the project as a whole, as an aesthetic improvement that raises the appearance of the property and the value of the property. We also look at how we can mitigate the variance, and we believe we're able to do that. So we believe we've satisfied the positive criteria in as much as we've promoted purpose I of the statute.
What's the benefit to the community? That he gets to have a higher pool than he would normally have.
And the community's flooded. I don't see any benefit.
I mean, what's the benefit?
I understand it's a difficult situation for us to be in, to ask for forgiveness, and it's not the preferred condition. However, looking at it with objectively, we believe that there's no significant detriment to the public and no substantial impairment of the intent and purpose of your zone plan, and that the perceived impacts that we're talking about can be very easily mitigated to a much better condition than they are today, both visually and physically with the runoff.
I heard, so there's a plan for the collect the runoff for the roof line, but I don't think I didn't hear anything that's gonna help with the grading of the pool. All that water's still gonna run off down the,
So,
Yeah, I think if I could add on to that, you described it kind of halfway, and I understand that the mitigation that you're talking about probably does solve the stormwater issues, but I had to really read the plan to figure out what the design is. So if you could, there's 2 dry wells that are like 150 square feet each, more than that. So if you could walk everyone through exactly.
Yeah.
how
So,
that-
so the stormwater management system that I've been referring to is essentially a much bigger version of a typical drywall that you would see in a backyard. It's excavated with semicircular chambers. It's on the second sheet of the variance application plan if you want to take a look at those details. So those semicircular chambers are enclosed in stone, which is then enclosed in filter fabric. And we take the roof drains and pipe those directly into the underground system. By doing that, it creates a significant amount of storage, much more storage than is currently there just in the voids in the soil. We're creating bigger voids, more room for storage, and therefore we can both control the volume of water and the rate at which it sort of leaves the site. And as I said, the topography doesn't necessarily allow us to pick up the runoff at the farthest corner of the property, but allows us to pick up intercept runoff that would normally go there, collect that, store it, treat it in effect, and then release it slowly so that it again, not just mimics existing conditions or pre-development conditions. This is before anything. It actually makes it better than what it was before any construction was started. And that's always the goal of stormwater management.
Can I ask how much of the proposed improvements have been constructed at this point?
The pool and the patio. None of the stormwater management stuff has been installed.
The entire patio around the pool and in the back of the house?
Correct.
Okay.
So that,
Can I ask the applicant a question? Madam
Yes.
Chair? Yeah,
Then we'll-
I know. Your engineer and planner has opined as to why the pool was raised as much as it was, but he really doesn't have any firsthand knowledge. Somebody must have come to you and said, we have to make the pool higher for one reason or another. I find it hard to believe they just went ahead and did it without talking to you. Do you know the reason why it was done?
I was not going out with a measure and a level. I wasn't aware of the change or the difference, and I also wasn't aware of those photos. I mean, we live next door. I've never seen one of those photos before.
Yeah, okay.
But
Yeah.
I also, like I said, I when we found out about it, we stopped and we're trying to mitigate. And from obviously talking and figuring it out, we're trying to do our best to limit as much of that water going anywhere other than staying on our property.
Okay.
So that's what we're trying. We're trying to fix that. But that was not. We didn't walk into it and say, hey.
Yeah.
We're walking in with, obviously 2 feet from what I understand of allowable change in grade. Ended up at 2.4. That wasn't like we're going to sneak in another 4 inches out of it.
Understood. So there's no nefarious intent. Understood completely.
And
Mr.
I'm
Notley?
I'm not challenging you. What I'm trying to do is, the planner, engineer has testified that this is a C2 where the benefits outweigh the detriments. And he opined, but we really don't know what the reason was for raising the pool. The whole reason there are 2 reasons for the variant, for the limitation on the 2-foot grade change. One is aesthetics, and I don't necessarily agree that raising the pool up is an aesthetic benefit. But the other, which is even more important, is the fact that the intent is not to have a lot of truck traffic taking dirt off the site or putting dirt back on the site. And if it could be verified that that was the reason the pool was raised, that could be a positive reason, a benefit to the township that the board could consider. But right now, we don't know that for a fact, so I don't think you can consider it. I was trying to see if that was possibly a reason.
Okay,
so
yes.
to piggyback on Ben's question, so how much of the original plan for the pool install is done percentage-wise? Is it 80%? Is it 50%? It sounds to me like it's 100%, but I want to get some clarification on what percentage of the original plan, before the stormwater management, before this knee wall, is completed?
100% except for finalizing the pool and filling it with water.
And a follow-up question: At what point did somebody say this needs a variance because it's over?
I don't think we were.
Over the 2 feet.
I don't think the owner was aware until the zoning violation was
Yeah,
issued.
we got a letter saying to stop work, and we stopped work, and we haven't done anything since then, so it's been empty.
Is there, oh, I'm sorry.
No, that was it.
Is there, I did see your hand, but anyone else from the public with a question or a comment? Okay, Mr. Russo?
I have more pictures to show the construction. I spoke to the gentleman that you hired as the pool
Just
guy,
make sure you're in the microphone.
who's the pool guy here, who's here tonight, and he kept telling me it wasn't gonna get higher, we weren't gonna raise it. Going to your reference, Mr. Higgins, of the trucks in and out, this was more of a detriment because you had trucks coming in and out, dropping off tandems of dirt, which is in one of the pictures there. So there was over 6 or 7 tandems of dirt, which is 22 yards a truck. So over 150 yards of dirt poured into his backyard. This has been going on, like I said, over a year and a half, just keep raising the property. Here's more construction photos. They asked for a foot when they first applied for this to come out of the ground. And they were granted after, I believe it was the 4th or 5th time, Greg would know who's the engineer, the 4th or 5th time, they were allowed to come 1 foot out of the ground. They didn't take 1 foot, they took a yard and 1 foot. And we're gonna sit here and we're gonna say, oh, it's okay, it's a hardship. No, they're asking for forgiveness. Let's fix this because I have the problems, the women's club has the problems, my other neighbor has the problems. It's not right.
Okay. Any,
In your, what would fix it? I mean,
What would fix it? I'm not an engineer, but I do build homes. Listen, put a retaining wall around the pool. Bring that grade back to the way it was around the pool. Have a 3-foot walkway. Bring the grade back down. Put drainage in. Put a catch basin like you see at the Wawa. Put that behind the pool. Throw some koi fish in. Now we're talking.
okay, any other questions or comments?
I have a koi pond, so I can sympathize.
You coy men.
Can we require that the grade be reduced? Is that something we can ask?
But it's a legal question, and yes, you can.
Thank you,
All right,
thank
we
you.
don't have to approve it.
Because if you deny the variance, then he's gotta go back to where he was.
Yeah.
Or come up with an alternate plan that isn't this plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the public? Okay, a motion to close the public hearing. I'll motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
I second.
Whitman,
What are we voting
I
on?
know, I would.
This is to just close the
Okay.
public hearing.
Can do something else?
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you. Yes.
just to close the public hearing.
Yes.
Yeah, you can just do it by voice. You don't have to call the roll every time that you close public hearing. You make a motion, you second the motion, all in favor.
Messing up our flow
I'm
now.
sorry, I'm just saying, you don't need to do that every
It
single
speeds
time.
it up. I'm all about
20 minutes
speeding
in
it. Yeah,
every
yeah.
Hey, can I
All in
just-
favor to close the public hearing?
Aye.
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 Okay, and can we just clarify, I just want to make sure, that no one else in the public had a comment, did they? Because I want to make sure that.
I thought I did,
I am the guy next door to him.
I'm sorry, I thought I did ask comment or, question or comment, but if I did not, then I will reverse that, just to make sure.
I have a feeling you just asked for questions.
Okay, so to correct that, are there any comments from the public?
I live next door to him.
Okay, if you can state your name and your address, and then I will affirm, I'm sorry.
Raymond Scolay, 1 Judith Court.
I'm sorry?
Raymond Scolay,
Could you spell that last name, please?
Scollay,
And your address?
1 Judith Court.
1 Judith Court. Go ahead.
And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth?
He's right there.
Okay.
We addressed, that's the pool guy back there. It's me. We tried to talk to him about the grade, why is it going so high, and he said it wasn't gonna go any higher, like Antonio said, basically everything, I wouldn't reiterate everything he said, but we tried to, figure out why it's going so high until the township shut him down, and now we're getting water from his property. How you doing, I'm your neighbor, I don't know what to do really, that's why you guys are up there. I'm not good at doing this stuff, but it's high. The property now, where his land is, I saw those pictures, are chest high. And
Okay.
It's up to you guys what you're gonna do, I don't know, but just with him.
Okay. Any other comments from the public? Any other comments from the public? Okay, motion to close the public comment. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And based upon what I'm hearing, is there a positive or a negative resolution for the variances?
Negative is no, right?
Negative,
Yeah,
but with
okay.
the stipulation, I would like to make a stipulation or suggest that the grading be brought down.
Well,
to-
you went in, there are no stipulations on a negative.
No, we're just
So
gonna vote
if
no.
you turn down
Correct.
the application, you turn
Madam
down
Chair,
the
could I have a moment to talk with the client, just for a moment before you guys
We bring it back
make a
down to
motion?
where it's not flooding.
Well, they're gonna have to. If they don't have a variance,
Have to take it
then
out.
the code enforcement's gonna go in and
Oh,
it's
wait.
gonna make them
Okay.
do it.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's at your pleasure, Madam Chair. If I could just have a moment to talk to Maurice and see if there's anything else we can do to assuage the concerns of the neighbors. If I could just have 1 minute.
Then we'll have to reopen, correct, and then
If they
possibly.
offer new stuff, then you're gonna have to reopen to the public again, yes.
We're, all right.
Pleasure.
Now, we're over time on this.
No.
Understood, man.
Okay.
I
So
don't want to. I don't
we'll
want to
go
belabor
to
the
the-
point. I just want to see if it's worth it for us to carry to the next meeting to see
Well,
if there's anything
here's
else
the
we can
thing, you
do.
completed your application. It's up to the board whether they wanna grant you that right, you don't have to. You've heard the whole application, it's been submitted. So,
The consensus I'm getting is to go to a motion.
Yeah.
So is there a motion for positive or negative?
Negative.
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 Okay.
so we
Is
need
there
a
a
motion, we
second?
need a motion to deny the application if that's what you're doing.
Delete.
I move to deny the application.
And I
Is there,
second.
okay. Claire?
Whitman,
And a yes vote is to deny.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Eskenazi,
Yes.
Kimura,
Yes.
Linesky,
Yes.
Mayor Langaka,
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So the application is denied.
Thank you for your time.
So, just so you know, I mean, you can come up with alternate suggestions, do what Mr. Mancini suggested that you might do, and come back with another application, but it's gotta be different than this application.
The concern is obviously the water. Can we at least start building that drain? Because
No,
the
you can't.
longer it
No, you're
pushes,
gonna
the
have-
more water he's gonna get. And I understand his concern, so
They can't, this board cannot grant you that. You're going to have to submit whatever you need to submit to zoning. And if it meets the zoning specifications, then that's fine, but this
Until
board
then-
can't do it.
until then, we just have to keep things the way they are. No further work being done, even if it's to move water.
You can submit a separate application to put in drainage improvements separate from the.
Right.
Okay.
So
No,
that's a
'cause
separate
again,
application, but this board can't grant you that
No,
tonight.
I'm just wondering if we can at least help
Again,
in
you
that
would
situation.
You would have to speak
Okay.
with the zoning office and come in with a different application.
Thank you.
Okay, the next case is Philip and Celia Seller, Block 26.08, Lot 15.09, 302 Crimson Circle, Ocean R3. Applicant seeks approval to keep the existing pool patio surrounding stone areas that have been constructed within the side and rear yard setbacks in violation of the original zoning approvals. Minimum 10 feet side and rear yard setbacks required, 3 feet side, east stone area, 6 feet side, east stone area, 7.5 feet, rear pool patio and surround proposed. The attorney is Mr. Robert Farber.
Thank you, Chairman Beal, Madam Littman, and gentlemen of the board. Good evening. I represent Philip and Celia Seller, 302 Crimson Circle, Block 26.08, Lot 15.09. We're here today seeking a variance, similar scenario. A contractor overbuilt a portion of a deck that was about 2.5 feet longer past the pool for a distance that the precise amount will be identified by our witness expert, Douglas Cleveland. Just very, very briefly, I do not think we're going to have any issues with water flow. It's simply a matter of addressing the screenage between this lot and the next one, and we're prepared to do that tonight as part of this application.
All right, Mr. Farber, let me just mark in what I have. I have Exhibit A1 is the application, Exhibit A2 is the final as-built survey, Exhibit A3 is the plot plan, Exhibit A4 are a series of 4 photos, and Exhibit A5, which you just handed me, is a series of 6 photos, which we'll pass out to the board also. I then have the following board exhibits. Exhibit B1 is the zoning officer's report, Exhibit B2 is the board planner's report, and Exhibit B3 is the board engineer's report.
Okay. Now we'll ask Mr. Higgins and Mr. Matlack for their reports.
I think probably from my end, it's best to hear the testimony, what they did, why they did it, and whether it makes sense that they did what they did. It looks like the contractor was just trying to square off the pool patio. And if you look at the original approval, the patio, the 3-foot section next to the pool, which is permitted to be where it is, runs the length of the pool, then it jogs in 3 feet and goes in both directions again to be 10 feet away from the property line, and the contractor just made it straight all the way across, eliminating the jog to bring it 10 feet from the property line. And then there's some stone areas that are also within 10 feet of the property line that need to be addressed.
Okay, Mr. Matlack?
Yeah, so the applicant previously received a grading plan approval from the township engineer. However, the improvements were not inspected by the township engineer during the installation, so a certificate of occupancy was rejected because of that. And then, so my only comment is the applicant should just verify that the drainage improvements were constructed per the approved grading plan. And if there are photos available of the installation, that can, typically be supplemented for an inspection by the engineer, if that's available. But the testimony about the installation is what we're looking for.
Okay. Mr. Farber?
Madam Chairman, I would like to call as our first witness Douglas Clayland, who's a licensed engineer. He has to be qualified and sworn in.
Okay, Mr. Clayland, do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and can you tell us about your credentials?
Sure. I am a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. Currently work for Insight Engineering as a project manager. I've worked there for the last 10 years, working on a number of projects from single-family homes to larger commercial site plans. I also served as the board engineer for the City of Asbury Park Planning Board and Zoning Board. I have testified before this board before. I think it's been quite some time, and approximately 30 others throughout Monmouth and Ocean counties.
We'll accept.
Thank you.
I'd ask that Mr. Cleland be accepted as an expert in engineering.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Cleland, just very, very briefly, give a description as to the distance of the area that supersedes by 2.5 feet, and then I'd like you to describe for the board what drainage system was installed, and just indicate when you actually physically inspected it, so they know what was. Sure. And you can illustrate on your exhibit up there.
Yes. So we did, as Mr. Matlack said, we did submit a grading plan, as part of a zoning application. It was deemed as fully compliant. Once the zoning application was issued and the contractor submitted for building permits, we were pretty much out of the picture. I can't speak much to what happened after that, but I can say that our plan was fully compliant. As Mr. Higgins said, there was a, so let me back up a second. So the pool was proposed in the rear yard. The majority of the pool patio was set back from the rear property line 10 feet, or it was supposed to be, and we did put a 3-foot wide emergency walkway around between the pool and the rear property line, as is permitted by your ordinance. So it, if it were constructed properly, it would have resulted in a jog, right around the corner of the pool, between the pool and the rear property line. But But it sounds like, that did not happen. Our plan wasn't followed properly, and we're here tonight. So I did go out to the site today, actually, just to see what was built. We did submit an as-built survey, which I have shown up here on the easel, and I have here before me, just to take a look at the drainage. And it looks like the drainage, obviously, I can't see what's already been installed underground, but based on what I can see on the surface, visual evidence of what's been installed, generally speaking, it looks like it meets the intent of our original design. So you can probably see along the rear of the as-built, which I'm going to get up and point to where it is. Along the rear property line, along the rear patio, there's a trench drain. You'll also notice there's a number of inlets. They look like they're in kind of random spots throughout the yard, but after going out there and seeing it, I think I understand what the contractor's intent was. And basically, the trench drain captures stormwater from the rear paver patio, which was always the intent. And then the other yard inlets that were installed, some of them are installed in low spots throughout the yard, but they all tend to lead towards the front, which right next, just to the east of the asphalt driveway, is the final inlet in the chain of inlets, which was where we originally proposed it, and it has the lowest grade elevation, and that is access the overflow for that runoff. So, our intent was to capture impervious surface, protect neighboring properties from receiving that impervious runoff, and pipe it underground to that overflow inlet near Crimson Circle. And it looks like he accomplished that. He added a few extra inlets, which actually is a benefit from a maintenance perspective because they sort of act like cleanouts. If, over years, if they get gunked up, leaves get in there, they can be jetted and cleaned. So it does look like it should function as originally intended in terms of drainage.
Now, I have a question to ask before you go away.
Whoa.
Sorry. I want you to take my pen, and even though it's a beautiful exhibit you have up there, just indicate to the board the area we're talking about, because
Yes.
I don't want to speak for you, but am I correct to assume, this is called a leading question, this sort of trial, so I want to be objective, but it's just a de minimis area of this whole decking area, is that correct?
You're talking about
what was
what's
built
been
and
exceeded, yes.
what's been exceeded. It's
Yeah.
from the pool here and there.
So if you were to draw a little jog on either side of the pool,
That's allowed.
we're talking about probably a 3-foot wide section of patio that encroached beyond what we previously proposed along the
Now,
whole back of it.
Did this additional patio, which is impervious, did this additional patio in any way, shape, or form overwhelm or adversely affect the water discharge system?
No, so it all should behave as originally intended. Like I said, I was back there today. The trench drain is consistent. It's along the entire back of it. So from what I can see, it'll function as designed.
And if I'm not mistaken, is it not your testimony that the front side of the property compared to the back where the pool is actually lower, so the water would naturally drain that way?
Yeah, in the existing condition, that's the general drainage pattern, is back to front. So we tried to maintain that and also protect neighboring properties. And the overflow inlet is much lower than the trench drain and the other inlets, so it acts as, water always seeks its own level, flows downhill, and that's where the overflow occurs.
So in this case, the overflow would be away from the contiguous neighbor
Yep.
that the 3-foot encroachment faces. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. If the board has any questions of Mr. Cleland?
Any questions from the board?
I would just say, if I can, just to Bennett really, Bennett, do you agree that it's more or less a de minimis change from what was originally there?
Yeah, I agree with the testimony. There's a trench drain that runs along the entire back of the patio. So even though there's additional impervious, it's still all being collected in that trench drain.
And as far as aesthetics go, describe the arborvitae hedge that runs along the rear of the property?
Sure. So I was there today. I saw them. I'm not an arborist or a landscape architect, but they look healthy to me. They're tall. They look
Provide a
healthy.
solid screen?
Solid screen. We indicate the number of them on the as-built. There's 5 here. There's 28 here. 21 there.
Yeah.
There's a really nice screen around the rear and side property line. So you really do feel like you're in like a private oasis.
Just one other thing for the board's consideration, to put it in perspective, is that the area that's violating the setback in the rear is 7.7 feet from the property line, where 10 feet is required. And initially, 10 feet was proposed. Like I said, there was a jog in that pavement to provide the 10 feet and be conforming. The cabana is set back 7.7 feet. The cabana conforms. The cabana can be set back 5 feet. So while the paved area has to be set back 10 feet, the cabana can be set back 5 feet. So, you know, I don't think this is aesthetically a major issue.
Okay. Any other questions from board members?
Just note, I'm sorry to interrupt, that photographs of the screening of the trees are among the paperwork you have up there. So if anybody wants to see, they are part of the record. Thank you, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And this didn't change the impervious calculation significant with any?
No, it did not trigger a variance for exceeding the maximum impervious.
Thank you.
Any other board members? Questions? Questions from the public? Questions from the public
Or comments?
or comments? Any comments from the public? Okay, just doing due diligence.
Ms. Chairman, I would like to call Philip Sellers, our next witness.
Okay. You said Philip Sellers? What did he say?
Sorry, the applicant.
The applicant.
Oh, the applicant, Mr.
Applicant.
Seller. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, and you can sit next to him if you...
Yeah, you can come in.
And if you can raise your right hand, do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth?
I can affirm, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Seller, you're the owner of the property,
Yes.
and were you aware that there was a deviation when this was constructed?
No.
It was a shock to you when you found out?
We didn't know until we basically did not get our CO because of this, yes.
Okay. And in the summertime, when and the pool has been around for quite some time, correct? Can you even see into your neighbor's yard from your yard?
No.
Okay.
No.
And has any neighbor come to you and ever complained or said there's any problem?
No.
Okay. Really nothing further.
Okay, questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? Questions or comments from the public? Okay, motion to close public comment.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
I would just like to say that the purpose of the setback requirement is noise, annoying a neighbor, to mitigate any interference. I think in this particular case, given the screenage, given the circumstances, there really is no issue of that. The salutary effect of the ordinance is not really insulted by this requested variance. It was not done intentionally, it was accidental, and most importantly, there is mitigation where there shouldn't and ought not be any problem to any neighbors because of the system put in, because of the natural topography of the property with the water going away. And as the experts' report have indicated, I think the major concern was the screenage, and I think that is really addressed here. So having said that, and knowing you have a full house, I would just ask that you give us favorable consideration, and thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion for positive resolution?
I move positive resolution.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Claire?
Littman,
Yes.
Eskenazi,
Yes.
Kimura,
Yes.
Vineski,
Yes.
Bernardica,
Yes.
Chairwoman Deal.
Yes.
Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. Best of luck. Next, Matthew and Gloria Ingber, Block 9, Lot 46, 257 Dixon Avenue, Ocean R4. The applicant seeks approval to construct an in-ground pool, cabana with covered patio, deck, wall, fence, masonry piers, as well as the grade more than 2 feet. And the attorney is Jennifer S. Krimko.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. As you said, Jennifer Krimko here on behalf of the applicant. I'm happy to say that we did not construct anything yet. We have not violated any rules or regulations. We are proposing a change of grade of more than 2 feet, but as you'll hear through my engineer and planner, we do have a hardship, a double one actually. We have a very sloped yard, as well as a corner lot with the house pushed all the way to one side, leaving the front yard area really the only area to put any of these improvements. I know that you want to allow, damn it, I almost did it, Ben and Jim, not Bill, Ben and Jim to put their reports in, and as we've learned, Mark likes to move his evidence in advance.
So Exhibit A1 will be the application, Exhibit A2 will be the boundary and topographic survey, Exhibit A3 will be the plot plan, Exhibit A4 will be the cabana plan. Those are the only exhibits I have on behalf of the applicant. And then I have the following exhibits on behalf of the board. Exhibit B1 as in Board 1 will be the zoning officer's report, Exhibit B2 will be the board planner's report, and Exhibit B3 will be the engineer's report.
Would you like me to wait until after their reports to give you more evidence, or do it now?
Can we do it now?
You can do it now.
It's just one. It's a proposed condition. It's a color rendering of what was moved in as A3, and it's overlaid on an aerial. So that would be A5.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Higgins and Mr. Matlack?
I think in this instance, since the applicant does have an engineer planner here, rather than have me go through the variances and try and explain them, we'll let him explain them, and if there's any questions or issues, I'm sure he will go through my report also, so rather than do it twice, let him do it once.
Same thing, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you. So I have Jason Fitchter here tonight. Since the cabana itself is self-explanatory, we didn't bring the architect, but Jason can speak to those plans as well, both as the engineer and the planner. I'm going to have him sworn in, have him qualified in both capacities, and let him tell you that he didn't waive in, he took the test, and he's a real planner. Hit it, Jason.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth?
I do.
Okay, can you tell us about your qualifications, please?
Yep, Jason Fitchter, Inside Engineering, licensed professional engineer and professional planner. I have appeared here, honestly, I can't remember which board, but probably both. I'm approaching about 100 boards throughout the state. I've been licensed since forever, 01, 02, something like that. Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Lehigh University. I've been accepted by the Superior Court System in New Jersey. I've been a board member, I've been a board engineer, and I've testified everywhere.
We will accept. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Jason, you being the expert, I'm going to hand it over to you to talk about the existing conditions at the site and what we're proposing.
Sure, so I'll run you through the whole thing, and thank you, Jim and Ben, for giving me that honor. So, start with housekeeping. So this is Block 9, Lot 46, otherwise known as 257 Dixon Avenue. Property 16,993 square feet. We're in the R4 zone. There's an existing home and shed on the property, and we're surrounded by existing residential development. Significantly, this home is a corner lot. We have frontage on Dixon Avenue and Wilson Drive, and the home is situated all the way over toward the western property line, which leaves significant open yard space in the front yard area at the intersection of those two streets, which you can see on the exhibit. That was A1?
No, that was A5.
Sorry, A5. Okay. You have 11 by 17s of A5. We have a large one here that we can look at together. The existing home faces Dixon Avenue. That's a dead-end street, and the applicant's house is the second to last house on that street. So from 30,000 feet, the applicant would like to improve the outdoor living space on the property. Projects like this are always a challenge when it's a quarter lot, because improvements will inevitably end up in a front yard, particularly when the house is situated all the way to one side. We're not proposing any changes to the home except for the rear deck. That deck is in need of replacement, and it's also going to become a main access point from the home to that outdoor living space. So the applicant's looking to replace it. The design of that deck is shown on the plan on A5, the deck at the rear of the home. That is the proposed deck. However, the design is still in flux, but whatever the final product is, it's going to be compliant. I've seen discussions of changes. It's very small areas here and there, but
So, and if I can, I do have a handout for the board, and we didn't have time to get it. The change occurred within the 10 days. So the proposed change to the rear deck is just adding a little portion to the west. I'm going to hand out an exhibit, and should the board approve it for resolution compliance purposes, we'll submit it. It doesn't create any new variances. It's in the corner, and it's compliant. So that'll be A6. And you'll see, when you look at it, it's just the portion towards the end of the house is filled in, and it's actually circled in red on this plan. Sorry, Jay.
keep going? All right, so the crux of this application is the proposed pool, patio, and cabana. The outdoor space we're talking about is proposed on the east side of the home. It's between the attached garage and Wilson Drive. So we were faced with a challenge when we set the elevation of this new outdoor space, because the grade drops off from the home to Wilson Drive by about 7 feet. That's a lot. The street, Dixon Avenue, is a steep street, and that translates right into the yard. And that creates a hardship condition that we need to consider when we design this. The goal for the outdoor living space is to make it accessible from the garage door. It's an attached garage, front of the house, and also from the rear deck. So those are the two access points where residents of the home will get from the home to the outdoor living space. And that is what guided us in setting the elevation of that area. So as a result, we need to request relief to alter grade by more than 2 feet. The change in grade varies from where it ties into the existing grade against the house to about 6 feet at the southeast corner of the proposed outdoor living space. And of course, this is driven by the fact that pools obviously have to remain level. We can't slope them down. We're proposing a wall around the patio area, and that wall serves 3 main purposes. First, it's going to act as a retaining wall to help us manage the existing topography, and in that regard, the wall is essential. Second, the wall is designed to be decorative to mitigate the change in grade. It's a masonry wall with a stucco finish, and there's a nice ornamental rail on the top. And third, the wall and railing combination complete the compliant safety barrier around the pool. The pool fence is going to be placed on top of the wall for code compliance and fall protection. That's the ornamental fence that we talked about. And we also created what we feel is a very attractive entrance from Wilson Drive. It includes masonry piers that will match the wall, and also landscape steps that blend nicely into the grade.
And that's because we're still, as it cuts back, we're still much higher, so we actually have to step down to Wilson. That's how low Wilson Drive is.
It's a significant drop at 7 feet. That's correct.
Okay.
All right, for stormwater management, this project is not considered major development, which is nice. And the proposed impervious coverage is well below what's permitted by your ordinance. Regardless, we're proposing a stormwater management system. It's very similar to a dry well. It's a length of 12-inch perforated pipe. It collects runoff from the pool patio and the attached garage and puts it into the ground, and then for safety, we have a positive outlet. At the base of this proposed wall on all sides, we call out a native planting bed, which is going to add great aesthetic appeal to the streetscape And it'll also soften the look of the new outdoor living space. We also designed areas around the patio itself, I'll call it the interior of the space, for landscaping. There's 5 existing street trees adjacent to the project area, which are proposed to remain. They're mature, and they have a low and wide canopy, which is going to significantly reduce visibility of this outdoor living space from the streets.
And Jason, that's why on the plan, it's not as evident on the color rendering, because you're showing the canopy, but on the plot plan, it shows the tree well around it to actually protect those mature trees from any damage during the grading.
That's true.
Okay.
Correct. Yep. All right, so in terms of the variances, so the rear yard to the cabana, we're proposing 10.85 feet, where your ordinance requires 30 feet. This is essentially a functional side yard, and it abuts what seems to be a functional side yard of the adjacent property. So I feel that this nonconformity is not quite as significant as it may sound.
And Jay, just to interrupt you, well, it's technically maybe the backyard of that property since it faces the opposite street. Essentially, it's, as when you look at the aerial, it's a row of trees, and that's where it's closest to that property line. So regardless of where the house fronts, there's no large rear yard area for outdoor recreation.
That's true.
On the neighboring
Yep.
lot.
There's also a shed on the neighbor's property in that area.
Sorry.
That's okay. The existing shed on the applicant's property is currently 1.6 feet off the rear property line. That's being removed by this application, so then the cabana would be an improvement over that. There is a hardship element to this variance because of the fact that this is a corner lot. With an interior lot, the setbacks would be 2 side yards at 15 feet and 1 rear yard at 30 feet. But with a corner lot, there's only 1 side yard, and the other 3 yards have that 30-foot setback requirement. The only side yard that we have available is occupied by the home. That's where the home is all the way over to the west side of the property. So all the setbacks for our proposed outdoor living space are required to be 30 feet.
And Jason, before you move on, and just asking the board to look at what we moved into evidence as A4 with the cabana. The entirety of this structure is not enclosed. There's large portions of it that are open, that you can see through, that air goes through. There's just the small portions where the bathroom and the shower and the pool equipment are going, that it's entirely enclosed.
That's correct.
Okay.
And it's indicated that way on the plot plan. The darker shaded gray is the enclosed part. The rest of it with that dot hatch, that's open air.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, next variance, front yard to the patio. So we're proposing 28.5 feet to Dixon and 20.21 feet to Wilson Drive. And again, 30 feet's required. And the fact that this is a corner lot and the location of the existing home create the hardship element of these variances. The better planning alternative, I feel, is to place the outdoor living space where we show it because it's substantially conforming to the setbacks. For example, if we place that outdoor living space behind the home, essentially everything would be encroaching into the required 30-foot rear yard. The way we show it, we require modest front yard variance from each street.
And importantly, as it relates to Dixon, I know it's only 1.5 feet that we're over, but the pool is actually set back 30 feet from that one. It's just that little strip of patio.
That's correct.
That exceeds. And that patio area actually is behind the front of the house.
Correct.
And importantly, that extra patio area just gives a little bit of a walking area around that before the, so there's no recreating in that area.
That's correct.
Okay. So, but technically, we need the variance, but essentially, at least as it relates to Dixon, we do meet the intended setback, except for that one little strip.
I agree.
Okay.
So the best aesthetic for this outdoor space that we're proposing is to follow the home and remain rectangular and parallel to the home, rather than to angle it and follow Wilson Drive. And this is where a majority of the front yard encroachment occurs. It's in that angled area along Wilson Drive. You'll notice Wilson Drive and the proposed home are not parallel to each other, so that creates a little bit more of a front yard situation.
And I would just ask the board to look on the color rendering that was handed out. over the patio, you can see the 30-foot front yard setback line. And as you can see, the cabana is well behind it, the pool, just the corner of it is behind it. Again, it's just that patio area that extends, and again, it's so,
And just for
we
clarification.
don't
for
shift the
board,
pool.
It's the patio area on either side of the pool, that strip of patio, that 3-foot strip at the end of the pool is permitted. Because if you have a walkway that's 3 feet or less, it doesn't have to meet the required setback. So again, it would be similar to the last application where the original plan was just a little jog in the patio, which didn't make a lot of sense. And the same thing here, it would be like a 1 foot?
1.5.
1.5 foot jog that really won't, it doesn't accomplish much. So it's better just to run the patio straight.
And then again, since this is a corner lot, we're not able to take advantage of that side yard. Now, about the changing grade of more than 2 feet, where your ordinance permits changing grade up to 2 feet by right, our design is not intended to create additional height or any other benefit except to obviously create that usable flat area for the pool and the patio. What we're doing is merely working with the existing grade, and that's the hardship element to this variance. The applicant is trying to create ease of access to the outdoor living space from the rear deck and from the attached garage. And by holding those grades and creating that level area for the pool, we're left with a grade change of more than 2 feet. Again, with a drop-off of more than 7 feet, that's inevitable. The fence and wall combination height is 6 feet, where your ordinance permits 4 feet. A pool fence is permitted up to 5 feet in the front yard when it's within 15 feet of a pool. This variance is a function of the existing topography, which is where the hardship comes in. So we have the combination of the wall and that ornamental railing on top of it as viewed from the street is taller than you would view it from inside the pool to have that code compliant
And
pool
Jason, what
barrier.
is the height of the solid wall as opposed to with the fence on top?
I think it was, I think it's 4.5 feet, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yep, and then a 1.5 railing.
So it isn't
giving us
just a
total
solid
6.
wall, and
No.
the landscaping that they see all the way around it, if the board were to approve this, we would agree to a condition that that would have to be maintained.
Yes, absolutely, to mitigate that wall. There is,
And just to clarify, Mr. Fichter said it was, he thinks it was 4.5 feet with a 1.5 foot. It is 4.5 feet with a 1.5 foot.
thank you,
Yes.
got it right.
Okay.
There's 2 existing nonconformities. They relate to the principal building. We're not changing those. We're also eliminating 1 existing nonconformity. As I mentioned before, that's the rear yard to the shed. The shed is coming out. So in support of those variances, I need to demonstrate to you that at least one of the purposes of planning would be advanced if you approve this application, and I think there's a few. First is, I believe this is an appropriate development which promotes the general welfare. This project creates an amazing outdoor living space. It's going to add value to the home, which is going to benefit the entire neighborhood, and that, I believe, is what advances the general welfare.
This is in addition to the hardship. This is under C2.
That's correct. So basically what's happening here is I was suggesting to you the variances had a hardship element which would satisfy the positive criteria. If there's any doubt in your mind that whether there's a hardship, I'm now providing testimony that they can be supported under the flexible C2 as well. So that's what we're doing. We're providing sufficient space and appropriate location for recreational use. I believe, I've said this a number of times over the past few years, and I believe this to my core. It's more important nowadays than ever to get outside. COVID taught us that, not only for those health reasons, but also because I believe there's an issue of kids staying inside on devices too much. Anything we can do to create an inviting outdoor living space to draw kids and adults outside, I believe would advance this purpose. We're promoting a desirable visual environment. The proposed outdoor living space is obviously designed to be very attractive. By nature, pools, patios, cabanas, hardscape, landscape are all intended to be picturesque, so we advance this purpose. And lastly, I believe that we're conserving property values in the neighborhood. So outdoor living is very desirable, as are pools. The beautiful space that the applicant created here will certainly make the home more valuable. And just as a rising tide raises all ships, I believe that more value in this home is going to mean more value for the entire neighborhood. terms of the negative criteria, I never want to overlook the fact that the use that we're talking about here is permitted. The purposes outlined in your 2023 master plan mirror the purposes of planning that are in the municipal land use law, and I just went through those. So in that regard, this application is consistent with your master plan. One of the objectives in your master plan is, quote, to ensure that adequate active and passive recreation facilities are maintained throughout the township, close quote. And I think this application accomplishes exactly that. Your master plan includes a significant discussion about outdoor living space. So in the land use element of your master plan on page 72, it encourages you to embrace inevitable changes to land use within the township. One of the changes it specifically encourages is, and bear with me here, quote, the changing attitudes toward the use and enjoyment of residential properties resulting largely from the continuation of stay-at-home practices during the COVID pandemic and the resulting need for expansion of residential space and accessory uses, including front porches and outdoor facilities, including patios, pools, and outdoor living space in general, close quote. So this application is squarely aligned with this recommendation in your master plan. Your master plan also acknowledges that additional space for families to gather doesn't increase the intensity of the use, but rather provides separate recreation areas for the family members. The existing home is tucked over to the side yard, leaving the large yard area between the home and Wilson Drive. So this is the most appropriate location for this proposed outdoor living space. The location also provides the most usable area in terms of setback requirements. We're eliminating a shed that's less than 2 feet from your property line. The improvements are going to be very attractive. And the existing street trees create a substantial visual barrier from the streets. So with all of these considerations in mind, I think if you were to approve the application, it would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good or substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan. And as you consider the negative criteria, I always like to highlight that word substantial. You're not looking to see if approving the application would cause a detriment to the public or an impairment to the zone plan. You're looking to see if it would cause a substantial detriment or substantial impairment. And I don't believe this application rises to the level of substantial in either case. So on balance, I believe that the benefits of this application substantially outweigh its detriments, if any, giving you the ability to approve this application with confidence. That's all I have.
Okay. Questions from the board?
Where is that perforated PVC pipe? Can you point it out on the plan?
Well, you just really hurt me, Mrs. Littman, because on the color rendering, it originally showed it, and it made it look like it was some above-ground structure in the front yard. No, and I took it off the color rendering, but it is on your...
I'm looking for it. Where? It's on one of these?
Yeah, yes, it's on your,
Not that one, that's the survey.
Okay.
if I can show you.
I can't.
Because the problem is, in the color rendering, it made it look like we were building some kind of additional wall.
Yeah, well, the problem is, this is so
Right, so the perforate, that's the wall,
Right.
and then that's the pipe that's gonna collect everything in here. Same number.
It's underneath it.
You're hired.
And the reason I had him take it off of this is because you won't see it. And what I wanted on color is what you're actually gonna see.
So much bigger for me, though. I need it here.
It's actually the same size, it's just in color.
Colors. Better for my eyes. You said it's draining into something specific, though, or it's just then?
So the patio area itself has trench drains, those long, narrow ones. They don't look like much. That's going to collect runoff from the patio area. It's going to pipe it to that pipe that you were just looking at, which is underground. That will hold the water and allow it to work its way into the ground. If for some reason we get a monsoon, it will take that water, anything it can't handle, flows out toward the street as it does today.
And I have one more question. This is where the steps are. You said it's now up 7 feet?
Nominally speaking, 6 and change, something like that.
And that is...
It is today. So the change in grade is 7 feet, right? So we need to level out the pool. So now we have to manage that 7 feet.
If I may,
This is as it exists
yes,
now, right?
yeah, if I
Correct.
may.
And because of the application.
This is the big one, and if I could just point out on the survey, So the survey shows that the grade down by the street is, by the sidewalk is 23, and the grade up by the house is 29 plus. So there's a slope that goes all the way down now. Was that accurate?
It was 30, but yeah, you got it.
I said up by the house, it was 29.
Any other questions?
I have a couple questions, Madam Chair. Related to the perforated pipe, are the trench drains hard piped connected to that driveway?
Yeah, the plan needs to be updated. There was discussion about different ways to get the water into that pipe. It needs to be hard piped. We'll update that.
And that pipe is at elevation 2775, but then the overflow yard drain is way down the hill at 2365. Is there a way to kind of detain the water in that pipe? Because the way it looks now, to me, it wouldn't really sit in there and recharge. It would just flow down the hill and kind of be concentrated down at the bottom.
No, that's the intent, and we'll clarify that in the detail. You're exactly right.
Anything else, Mr. Matlack?
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
What's the estimate for the stairs coming off Wilson Drive? I didn't understand
So there
why
could,
we have to put why.
just, so the pool could be accessed from Wilson Drive. That's really just so you could come in off Wilson Drive and walk up to the pool patio.
There's already two. The reason I ask is there's already two access points from the house per the testimony.
Right, but if someone's riding their bike or the neighbor's kid is coming over to play, they'd have to knock on the door, go in, there's no way to get in otherwise without coming up there.
Concerned about liability, though, for the public?
Well, that's why there's that pool compliant barrier. We have a barrier around the whole pool. That's a state law.
Yeah, it's no different than any other pool.
Right, but what's preventing anyone from...
There's a gate.
There's a gate there.
Yes, it has to be.
Yeah, it has to be self-latching.
Self-latching is different than locked. Like, you can lift the latch. That's not what I'm asking. Anyone can walk in off the street and open the latch.
Anyone could walk in off the street and walk into my pool also right now.
Now, if that's not there,
So
it's very different. It's a very different issue.
So the pool code, as Mr. Higgins said, requires that self-latching gate where you'd have to reach
I know
over.
what the pool
I
code
think
says.
what the question is, why do you actually need steps from Wilson Avenue? It's almost like creating like an attractive nuisance, inviting people to walk up where you can't even see them from the house, walking up from Wilson Avenue. I mean, if you need to use the pool, go in the normal door, knock on the door, and walk around. What is the big deal?
Or you can access from the driveway.
Exactly.
There's access from the driveway, too.
It seems odd
Yeah.
to me as a layperson that you have steps going from a street.
Or people just parking on Wilson,
Right.
a big party, and using that as the main entrance.
Yeah, you have
Go to the front door if you have a car.
You're invited.
Okay, understood. We hear you. I know that there's some neighbors here. Before we commit to anything, I'd like to hear what their comments are also, because it may change what we commit to.
One other question, I call it the front of the pool on Dixon. How wide is that little strip there, between the pool and the, I guess
think
you
it's
call
a-
it sidewalk patio?
I want to say it's a foot and a half, or is it 3 feet?
Okay, because I think we can go 3 feet or,
I'm going to have to measure it.
Yeah, and we just also have to make sure that it doesn't intrude on the drainage as well.
and I would just caution the applicant too, make sure it's built as built. Don't come back
Oh, it
and
will
say
be.
we went a foot over, and, because you're going to be getting a jackhammer.
Yeah, we're gonna make you knock that pool down.
Or get a koi.
It will be built.
Get koi.
As you know, the last applicant didn't have me as their attorney.
We know that.
It will be built exactly how it's shown.
Any other questions? I know you're measuring, but any other questions from board members?
I think get rid of that.
Yeah, I agree.
It's about a foot and a half. Yep.
And do we have room to make it 3 feet to make a safe walkway around the pool, or will it interfere with the trench drain?
It will not interfere. We
So
can do
if
that.
the board wanted us to widen it just for safety purposes, we could do that.
Any other questions?
So you're asking, so we're asking the board if you want to widen the pool walkway around the
Right. Just that one area on the south side.
outside.
It's only a foot and a half to make it 3 feet.
You probably did that, though. Did you do that, though, for the ordinance to be in within?
No,
the
I think it was
ordinance?
just the aesthetics, but again, we didn't expect there to be a lot of walking around that side, but again, if there's a concern, we could address it.
Well, I can remember another one. I just don't want to see somebody, like, where it's all been filled in with gravel and there's beach chairs and.
Right. Agreed 100%. They'd have a hard time, they'd be sitting on a pipe. Buried pipe that nobody can see.
So are we talking about widening that then?
Well, it's at the board's pleasure.
I don't know, I
I'd
think
be
widen
worried
it to 3.
about
What?
impervious.
It's at 3 now, I think.
No, it's not.
Foot and a half.
Oh, it's 1.5 feet, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, then widen it to 3, yeah.
Coverage. You want more green than anything.
Any other
Think about
questions?
Yeah, it's gonna run off. Take a foot and a half.
Okay, questions or comments from the public? If you can come to the microphone. Is it behind that?
Yeah, it's behind.
Okay.
Oh,
And I would just ask, Madam Chair, that if we're going to do questions and comments at the same time, to just have the witnesses sworn in.
Yes. If you can state your name and your address.
Nancy Clark, excuse me, Nancy Clark, 254 Howard Avenue.
Could you spell
And do-
Clark, could you spell Clark for us, please?
Sure,
Oh, so she's right here.
L-A-R-K,
Okay. And what was the address again?
254 Howard Avenue.
Howard Avenue. Okay.
I would be the abutment.
Okay.
And do you affirm, if you can raise your hand, do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth?
I do.
Okay, and questions or comments?
Sure, so I actually came into this with 2 critical concerns. After listening to the plans, I also have substantial feedback. So the critical concerns are, first of all, the proximity to my house. Right now, there is a very steep slope, about 6 feet, which I have photographs of to illustrate for the board.
Ms. Clark, can you, just so the board is totally orientated, are you this house here, lot 47? If
Yes.
you look on the big one,
47.9. I pay my taxes, I know that.
Lot
No, no, no.
47, okay.
You're next door on Wilson. You're front on Wilson also?
No, I am on Howard.
It's the house right behind it.
Howard
then you can't be
Drive.
lot 47.
No.
Are you this house?
It's right here.
Front's on Howard.
You have a corner lot?
Howard is the
I do
next
have
street to
a
the
Then you're on both Howard
Or
and
both
Wilson.
streets.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
but I don't front. Well, it
Your
has
property
mutual.
does.
Right,
I just want to make sure that's who you are.
correct. And to your point, I found out today, I also have a hardship because my house is squished to the corner with a lot of yard and I'm in a corner lot. So I have the same concerns. But the critical concerns that I came with is, first of all,
Hey, what's that?
Is someone pressing their button?
Ma'am, can I just ask you, when you say the proximity, what is your critical concern?
Somebody's mic.
I haven't
Jen, just
been
one
able to
second,
finish
Mr. Coe.
because of the mic.
Let's see if we can get rid of the mic. Someone is causing feedback. It's going in now.
Okay. And I think they're on, so we don't need to press them if I'm not mistaken. Okay.
So the first is the proximity. So the cabana, which is a cabana and a shower and a bathroom and something else, and pool equipment, which is loud and noisy, will be just over 10 feet from my property instead of the 30 feet. That's a substantial difference in variance. We do utilize my backyard. We don't utilize the front yard at all. So we do spend summers when we have a very beautiful, expensive, screened-in and glassed enclosed porch that overlooks that yard that we spend all 4 seasons. So we would be experiencing whatever noise came from the children and the party that apparently is coming up the Wilson Avenue steps. Any noise that using the bathroom and the shower we hear, we'd see them, and they'd be on top of our property. So the proximity was the first one. I did not see the hardship rationale for a full scope cabana. That goes
Ms. Clark, just wait 1 second.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it this? I think it is. I don't know. It sounds like it's this one, maybe.
Are there papers on that one? Is that what it is? No?
Maybe, see that.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry, please continue.
I just didn't want your testimony to be.
I apologize, it was me. Not,
This is a.
Just, if you just speak into the microphone, because we
Sure.
can't figure out what it is, so that's fine.
So the second concern is the more serious of the two. So there is a significant slope, and I'll share the pictures from the neighbor's yard to ours, and it both goes, it goes both ways, which is why I brought several pictures. It's about 6 feet, maybe 7. We've always had runoff problems. The soil is primarily clay. We've lived there substantially, so we ourselves have installed underground pipes, drainage systems. We still get serious flooding. The clay just doesn't absorb the water, so with the good intentions of the pipe, if it pools on top, it will come downward, and that goes into our property. So we've had recently substantial flooding. There are other neighbors here that are even farther away that have had that. I am concerned that the increase in flooding would be there, plus the disruption while that's being built. The area between the two properties used to be overgrown with ivy, and about 6 years ago, we put a significant amount of money to make it a rock garden. We landscaped it, and I do have pictures too of what it looks like in the spring as well as what it looks like now. I don't see any way that they could come directly up to the property and not ruin the work that we've had, and we'd have to start all over again when they were done. So those are the two critical concerns that I have. I also would like to address some things that I heard about the attractive and aesthetic masonry and the clay that they'll be putting facing our yard that won't bother us because it's only a backyard. That was a bit presumptive. We actually spend most of our time back there due to the screened-in porch. We have 2 fenced-in areas that we enjoy with our families and our friends that are set back. I actually just put the fence in this last year, and I followed the zoning ordinance to the T because I understand the trees. So that is where we spend a lot of our time. We grill and dry our summers. It would be very much in our faces. So those are the concerns. If they can deal with the flooding, and I don't see where a drainage pipe can do that because the clay just flows over it. I also heard, I believe, Ms. Krimko say it would flow as it does now into the street. Well, it doesn't flow into the street.
Ma'am, I didn't say that.
I'm sorry.
The engineer did.
Mr. Fitzgerald. It wouldn't flow into our basement the way it's been doing. So there's a lot of presumptions of what has been going on that I believe are incorrect.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to share.
Before she shares any pictures, I have a bunch of questions based on what she testified to that I need
I just want to
clarification
confirm, you
on.
said currently the water goes into your basement?
I didn't say that would. We get significant flooding in a crawl space, which is
I know.
directly under the kitchen and in the basement.
But you don't know that it's coming from this property?
I do not, but I can show you the elevations where it slopes down to that.
Understood. I just wanted to make sure
Sure.
that you didn't know.
I can't watch it and see that that's where it comes from.
Okay.
Just before, I do have one question. So, I don't know if you can see on there, but
I wasn't able to see this, so if I may.
right here,
Yeah, that's her.
so this is your home, and how far, are those the ivies that you were talking about? How much foliage is there versus yard versus
That's why I'd
the
like to
screened
show the
in?
picture, if I may.
Okay, if you can show the attorney first,
May I ask
Mr. Lexi.
Well, before we,
Do you also, you said, it looks from this picture that your yard is shielded from their purview. Can you actually see into their yard at all?
So right
So
now.
so she has pictures, Ms.
Yes.
Clark has pictures, which I'm gonna, 1, 2,
Are you fully
There's-
shielded or
Four.
partially?
They have a fence, the previous
Six.
neighbors put up a fence directly on the property line.
Right.
It's 5
Ms.
or
Clark, I
6.
just want to make sure that you're being picked up on the microphone, so.
Yes, yes.
But there are 6 photographs I'm showing to Ms. Krimko, and Ms. Clark, did you take these photographs?
Yes, so 4 or 5 of them were taken the day that we received the notice and I came to see the plans. 2 of them are in the spring earlier on to show how it looks when it's nice. It happened to be full of dirty leaves the day that I got home, but I wanted to show the slope.
All right, I'm going to mark that. I'm going to mark the 6 photographs as C1 for being Clark 1.
Barbecuing outside like you were talking about, can you see in their yard?
No, that is the lower level, and we have put a fence up. So we can, yes, we can see through the fence. And actually, their children, they have 4 children, the new people. They do come poke their fingers through the holes to play with my dogs, and I do get worried.
Can I ask a couple questions
Yes,
before we
if we
move on to
can,
the pictures?
just one thing, Mr. Lexine, did you have anything else?
No, I just wanted to mark in the photographs.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So, Ms. Clark, you say that your critical concern is the proximity to your house, particularly because of the cabana, and it's going to be noisy. Did you have a chance to look at the plans?
So I did.
Okay.
However, the noise was not the major concern.
Okay, but you, if I may, I mean, again, I'm asking you some questions. You offered your testimony.
I will answer that. I looked at the plans, but I am not an engineer.
Okay.
And it is the first time I have ever looked at any blueprints other than my own house. There were 2 people that helped me to understand
why I'm just-
somewhat. I would be happy to understand more, but I couldn't see anything you were presenting.
So that isn't on there, but again, and I'm not challenging you, I'm asking you questions for the record. So,
course.
you know, I'm not against you here.
Of course.
Okay? So you indicated that the pool equipment was gonna be noisy.
I'm not,
I'm just.
I heard you say noisy.
No, ma'am. I am literally, I took notes as you offered your testimony. Your critical concerns were proximity to your house, particularly the cabana. It's too close. You're going to hear kids going in and out of the bathroom and shower, and that the pool equipment is going to be noisy. That is what you said. And my question for you is, do you know if we need a variance for the location of the pool equipment?
So until I heard today that there would be pool equipment, and I don't recall who said it, in the cabana.
Correct, but
that this was the first that I considered it. I had not considered it prior to
so
today.
what I'm offering to you is, and just so you know, and you're welcome to come here and look at the plan where I'm pointing at, if you said you didn't look at it, the pool equipment in the cabana is set back 10 feet from the property line. That's the required setback for pool equipment. So whether this cabana is there or not, we're meeting the ordinance as it relates to the pool equipment.
What I understood from the ordinance.
Ma'am, this unfortunately, and again, I'm happy to talk to you outside of here. At this point, we're in a public hearing, we're creating a record if in case it goes to court. It's not a conversation between us, it's me asking you questions based on your testimony. Secondly, you had indicated that there was gonna be a lot of noise going back and forth with the kids. Is there a door into the cabana on your side of the cabana?
I indicated I was concerned. It doesn't mean that there will be. There are potential concerns that I am voicing. I have labeled them as concerns. If they didn't come across clearly, I am doing it now.
Okay, and I believe you called them critical concerns, which is why I'm asking the questions. So, the kids coming in and out of the cabana, kids are allowed to play in the yard, correct? They can make noise in the yard, whether they're 5 feet from the property line or 10 feet. The location of the cabana isn't going to keep kids from playing in the yard. Would you agree with that?
I can't disagree with it.
Okay. And you had indicated that there's a slope, and you showed the pictures, and that you indicated that there is runoff. So I'd like to take a moment, if I may, and ask my engineer whether or not, based on the grading and the differential, whether or not our existing topography runs off onto Ms. Clark's yard or in the proposed condition.
So looking, excuse me, looking at the survey, the rear yard of the applicant's property, the contours suggest that the runoff flows in an easterly direction. It looks like a little bit of runoff from Ms. Clark's property comes onto the applicant's property. I don't see anywhere where the applicant's property flows onto Ms. Clark's property. But, I mean, just zooming out a little bit, by and large, the water flows from the applicant's house to Wilson Drive without entering Ms. Clark's property.
Okay. And with regard, and what we're proposing is not going to change that because by law, we're not allowed to change the direction of the water flow, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then lastly, Ms. Clark, you had indicated that there was going to be disruption when it's built. Again, whether this board grants a variance or not doesn't affect what we can do on our property, and they don't have control over construction. So are you just opposed to construction in proximity of your yard?
I voiced a concern that the rock garden that we built, that we spent quite a bit of money on, would be groomed during working on the property line.
Okay, and I would just stipulate that, should that happen, Ms. Clark has remedies outside of this board. This board doesn't control that. Obviously, we'd be liable for any damage that anything we do on our property would be done to Ms. Clark. So you can't deny a variance because construction's going to be disruptive.
I'll agree with that you can't deny, we don't get involved in the construction. There's always going to be issues with the construction. They have to meet the construction code. We can't waive the construction code. So any damage done during construction, they're responsible for. Now, the other concerns about the location of the cabana, those are legitimate concerns that a neighbor can have, that you're putting something within the setback when it doesn't, when it's, and you're requesting variance really from that right behind her house.
I have a question on the grade line, because if you look at the side profile, it's the drawing A102, and it says Cabana North.
So, yes, you're looking at the architectural plans, Mr.
Yeah.
Lemesky?
And it shows the grade sloping towards her property.
So while you're answering that question, Madam Chair, if I can.
Well, let me just, it doesn't. It actually slopes, that's the back facing her property, so it actually shows the grade sloping down towards Wilson.
That's the pool equipment,
Right.
I would not
which
look
is
at
behind it. Her property's
architectural
here.
plans.
No,
And
her
that says
property's here. Her property's, here's the pool equipment, the slope is going this way. That's what you're looking at. You're looking at it this way.
All right.
So the slope is going this way, down Wilson, not towards her property at
As
all.
long as you're here, can I ask a question?
Can I just be for housekeeping purposes, Madam Chair? This application's been going on more than 45 minutes. I'm not suggesting you should stop it because I think we're nearing the end of it. There is no way we are getting to the synagogue tonight because you don't take any testimony after 10, and it's currently 9:35. And the way this application's going, which I'm not suggesting again that you should stop it, you probably should finish it. I don't think you're getting the Menlo either. I'm sorry, Memo Investments either. So I don't know if you want to carry those two applications
Without
and
notice.
let people go home if anyone was here for those two applications, because making them sit here. Well, I know we're not getting to the synagogue. There's no way, because there's no way Memo's being done in 10 minutes.
And I believe that there's other public comment.
Right,
so-
exactly. So I don't know if you want to deal with those two applications from a housekeeping perspective and then just continue with this one and let this one finish, but I leave that up to the board. I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention.
Just process-wise, that meeting on the 29th, can we add any of this to that?
There's
or-
no room.
And what I was gonna request, and again, because it's a synagogue, well, I'd love Mimo to also get the same privileges. Because it's a synagogue, the delay is really impacting our ability to, as you're gonna hear through the testimony, serve the congregation and pray, everything else. So I'd like to request a special meeting if possible. I'm sorry, Mr. Lozinski, I know how to read.
The 29th was rough. I can tell you right now.
Synagogue, they've been waiting so long.
We won't get to it
won't
realistically, because I
get to it.
believe there's more public comment. So, just for clarification.
And I don't mean in February, I mean maybe a special meeting in March where
On this-
we have the full,
We're doing the one in February. It was tough to put together.
oh, the February 29th was a special.
Yeah.
Oh, I
But it's
wasn't aware
for
of that.
other
Okay.
cases, I believe multiple, if I'm not mistaken. So just for a procedural, and you said it's Memo? I'm sorry, I was calling it Memo.
It's Memo.
Memo?
Yeah,
Okay.
I called it the wrong name, but it's Memo Investments.
Since we're right in the middle of one, I don't want to steer too far from this one. Can we officially
They said
carry
this
it
is
to,
If they put a wall
So Claire, what does the March agenda look like? March 21st.
Need to make sure everybody's available.
So if this is open, make this a wall.
So right now, we already carried those two billboard applications to March 21st. Those
Correct.
applications are not going to be short.
I think there's changes.
and April is the the church.
Church.
They were carried without having to renotice.
That's gonna be.
So that would put us at May.
Is there a way that we can, may I ask, carry it to the February 29th meeting for now, recognizing we're not going forward on February 29th? Give Colleen and I an opportunity to see if we can come up with a special hearing date. And then if we can't, at that point, it can be adjourned to the next. That way it saves notice and it doesn't make us try and search for a special hearing today.
So we could carry it to February 29th just for the purposes of providing a date.
Correct. You can do
Only.
that.
Okay.
But with the knowledge that there's no way that they're going forward on the 29th.
Correct.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that.
Anyone have any issues with that? That's for memo and
You know, what I'm saying is, so between
Synagogue of
now and the
Oakhurst.
29th, I'm going to try and come up with a special meeting that works for everybody.
And we'll do the same thing for the synagogue also.
Correct.
So for memo and the Synagogue of
Yes.
Oakhurst Community Center carried to February 29th for the purposes of determining a date only,
Correct.
without having to renotice.
So if everyone on the board is okay with that, we'll make the general announcement that both the memo investments application and the Synagogue of Oakhurst application are being carried to the February 29th meeting at 7:30. There will not be any further notice. However, neither application is going to be heard that evening. So if you want to come that evening just to hear when it's being carried to, please do. Otherwise, you are free to call the board secretary after the 29th, and I'm sure she'd be more than happy to tell you the dates that they've been carried to. Okay, does everybody understand?
Can we take a 2-minute recess also before we continue?
Yes, if
Thank
anyone
you.
needs to. And we will get to, because I do have
Yeah, 'cause we're not done
questions
with-
about
yeah, we're
Ms.
not done with
Clark's,
Ms.
the runoff.
Yeah.
So can you,
For one thing,
you said it doesn't go to
she doesn't
Wilson?
realize, the neighbor
It
doesn't
doesn't go
realize.
to her yard, but it goes to Wilson? And I
Right.
see what he's saying about this curve, but
So she can
where
have
does
the
it show
pool
that
right
it
next to
goes
10 feet
there?
from her property line. Yeah, well, no, she's not
Because I-
understanding. Be careful what you wish for.
Then was shaking his head yes to their testimony.
That it goes to Wilson's?
Yes. You can just
This is your downgrade
Because
here.
these lines show that, right?
Right, as your
Okay.
lines get closer together, that's showing the steepness of the grade. So the lines are actually coming closer together on her lot.
Talking about.
So the slope is actually coming, down this way, just from the
synagogue.
curve of the hill.
Right.
Right, so the water is running down this way, and actually running off her property.
So he was accurate in that it's going to Wilson, but technically it's going.
I'm telling you, he's shaking his head yes.
I can't guarantee you.
It's
But how when it goes over?
Again, this is
You're thinking of the lines as the direction of the water. Right, it's perpendicular to the water.
And that would be a side yard.
The water is actually running this way, the way that the lot lines are run. The way that
So
the
these lines
topographical
are
lines are
the
run.
hill. That's what he's.
Correct.
That's the dirt. That's the hill.
Oh, that's the
Yes.
clay that she's talking about.
That is the hill.
Okay.
The dirt's made of mostly clay. That's in my neighborhood.
Okay.
So the hill goes up this way, and
So
as the
where is
lines
the
get
water
closer
coming
together.
from?
That's
I mean, I don't.
Whatever
could
it is,
be,
it's
but-
an existing thing now.
Yeah.
It could be coming.
Well, I knew what you were trying to say, so I just
It is. The water is actually moving away.
So her hill is the opposite side of the flow, so to speak.
Correct.
Okay. So I will ask Mr. Matlack to confirm.
The only place where it looks like it's sloping towards,
There is like a one slope
right
down.
here, it's sloping down into her yard.
And what is that, right?
That's kind
There's
of
no
like-
water there.
that's right
I mean,
here.
there's no,
That's to see how the white
That's not
lines
even her
are.
property.
Right, that's.
And then it
that's
turns and it
that's
all
the space
slopes
between
outward.
40
So
and
is
That's
it-
not even. That's not even her property.
Yeah, that's the
so
other.
could it be that neighbor?
Oh, it looks like it is.
It looks like there's a few people.
There's a little bit. There's a little bit in her property.
They
That's
said
just
the
right here.
cabana was open, right?
Yes.
Mostly open.
So
put a wall back.
They do have one already. Yeah.
Well, I thought he said it was completely open.
No, she said it was through hair.
Okay.
So one area was gonna be walled off, and then you're gonna have the wall from the bathroom.
There's a solid building here.
Yeah.
And there's a roof here. Like this is closed off. I mean,
So is it solid or is
it's
it
a wood
louver?
louver, so it's like a.
I think he made it.
So, like, you know how, like, the previous
That would help
one,
with the noise.
we basically denied it because
Riff raff, they're running a
They're requesting the variance because it has to be 2 feet high.
So the first one, they changed it.
Correct.
And wanted forgiveness.
They're not changing the grading.
No, they're not changing the grading. The 2 foot, the over 2 foot variance is because it's on a hill. And at one point, the pole is gonna be 2 feet higher than the ground.
If you put anything flat on the property.
Right.
Okay.
That's the clause.
Because I didn't want to look like hypocrites where, you
The
know.
other application, the guy had a flawed piece of land and raised it up to it. It's like,
Very
that's
different. Very different.
Very, very different.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you could explain it because I couldn't. Okay. Who are we, is,
Do you have access? No kid, you have bikes are coming. You have access from the driveway.
let me just tell him.
Wish I had that when I was. And this is like louvers. I can tell.
Glad I learned how to read topographical maps.
I can sympathize too. I'll show you mine. My yard's similar. But I have another.
They did.
She won the gala. She was very excited. She won the lottery and got it
Anyway, so
I'm not gonna get it.
Just stand up.
Yeah, I'm just
Here,
gonna ask you.
yeah, for this.
No, I don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe Dad gave you my number?
I think so. Yeah, I don't have you in here.
We're just
and
waiting on.
I have you.
Yeah, he said it.
How do I edit
But,
this?
calling Miss Krimko, calling Miss Krimko.
I'll go get her.
It's you, right?
Okay. Oh.
I got her.
Okay.
674. 643. They had two
674, I'm sorry.
clients I had to explain. 438.
Okay. But we're,
I'll call you tomorrow.
is everyone here? Where did he go?
I think he just went to the restroom.
Okay.
Yeah, he went to
I just, and he was here for this. I just want to clarify, so Memo and Synagogue of Oakhurst, we are clear to hear the new date, February 29th.
But
That is
they
it.
will figure out a new date, and then we'll have that on the 29th to announce.
Okay. And if for some reason we cannot get a special meeting date, then we will still give the next date
Correct. At
that
for the next, at that meeting.
And there's
Okay.
no chance we are hearing those two applications on that date.
Okay. Okay, so I do want to, Ms. Clark, so there was testimony about water in your basement, in your yard, your area, but there was also testimony that the water does not go to Lot 47, it actually goes to Wilson Drive. So I wanted Mr. Matlack, if you could just please explain that on the record, because the visual kind of looks like it slopes, but then it was explained how it is actually perpendicular, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, so there were two things that were brought up. There's the grading plan that's part of the engineering drawings, and then there are the architectural plans. I wouldn't go by the architectural plans because they're more of a, just for a visual, just to give you an idea. The engineering grading plans, the way I'm looking at them, I agree with Mr. Fitcher's testimony that the slope is going towards Wilson Drive and not going towards the neighboring property.
Okay. Just one second. I believe Ms.
No, that was my
Okay.
only questions at this point.
There seems to be a legitimate setback concern. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, you were talking to me. Go ahead.
Finish.
I'm done.
I didn't hear him, but it's fine.
There seems to be a legitimate setback concern. What if you rotate the shape of the pool to the left
90 degrees.
90 degrees? Thank you. So now the pool and the cabana align in the same shape, and then you can move them both up from the property line. So instead of being 10 feet setback, maybe it's 20 now, because
Well-
you can move them up.
Understood, and the one thing that we may consider is if we make the cabana smaller, it's permitted, if it's 150 square feet and less than 10 feet, it can be 5 feet from the property line without a variance. So we may consider reducing the size of the cabana because the enclosed area really is much smaller than that, probably not much more than that. So perhaps we, depending on where the rest of the hearing goes, perhaps rather than reconfigure the entire yard, because doing that may be problematic. So what we may do is reduce the size of the cabana so we can put it at 5 feet from that property line without the need for a variance.
Can you clarify that?
Wait,
Yes,
what if
you're-
you reduced the size of the cabana and then just kept it
Because
up
the
towards
size,
the pool instead of moving it back towards the property
because the
line?
size of the cabana, there's nowhere to move it up towards the pool. So what I'm saying is your ordinance provides that you can have one accessory building.
Right.
If it's 150 square feet or less, I'm answering Mr. Chimera, or 10 feet or less, it can be 5 feet from the property line.
That doesn't matter if it's the rear yard. or-
Doesn't matter what it is.
Thank you.
So all I'm saying is, yes, it's bigger, but it's giving the solid wall, and again, we can't move it closer. It's 3 or 4 feet from the pool right now. So we can't move it closer.
Could, you don't need as big of a pool, or you don't.
Correct.
I mean, there are things you could do.
No, I'm saying, I'm just answering Mrs. Littman, that you can't just shift this around. Of course, you can always change things. The other thing we could look at is swapping the pool and the cabana, and then the pool can be 10 feet from the rear property line.
You were going to say that.
Well, but it can. So again, if we move the cabana and line it up with the house, or line it up with the 30-foot setback, we wouldn't need a variance, and the pool can now be set back at 10 feet from the property line. So this all goes to why we think this is the best zoning alternative, because we have a wall up against her property where no noise is coming out of that wall, as opposed to a pool that could be in that location with kids jumping and screaming. So again, we didn't finish and go through, and I didn't have a chance to respond, but if I was the neighbor, I'd rather have a attractive back of a building blocking me from the noise than having the noise 10 feet from my property line.
I knew you were going to say that.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Sure.
'Cause you might have answered my question. So I heard the cabana, is that going to be a solid wall, not louvers, but a solid wall? Because
Yeah.
I think that would help you.
Along the back of the cabana is, yes, a solid wall.
Okay. And will it be finished on the backside?
Yeah, yep.
So it's not going to be exposed center
No,
block?
and if you look on the drawing, we have a whole row of trees there too.
Yes.
That we're not planting those, right? Those
No,
exist?
they exist.
Those
Hey.
all exist. We're not taking any of those down.
No, I think to help with yours, if that was a solid wall there, I'm good with that. I'm not good with the sidewalk or the side entrance.
I understand that, and believe me, I'm gonna have to explain to my client that he's gonna be losing that. I read you loud and clear.
Ms. Clark, did you have any other questions or comments?
Would the elevation change and the insertion of the plumbing for the cabana cause any problems? And again, I am not an engineer. those are concerns that I have.
So we can stipulate that they won't, and that the engineering plans show that they won't, and that by law, we're not allowed to, and we need to get plumbing permits and construction permits, so not only is it reviewed by Ben Matlack, the board engineer, we then have to go through the whole construction department to do it. So no, we're not allowed to, and we're not allowed to, if that fence is yours on the property line?
But that is not mine.
Oh, okay. Well, are we leaving that fence or are we replacing it?
I don't
No,
know.
I'm asking my engineer to
But
tell
I
you.
couldn't find it in the plan, so I don't know. That's one of my questions.
There is a new fence shown on the plan, going along the back property line to the front of the cabana and then attaching to the cabana.
Okay. So maybe so there's going to be a fence there regardless between the two properties.
So a fence, a wall, and the trees.
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Clark, any other questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the public? Yes, sir, if you can come up to the microphone. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you.
I'd like
Eeny,
to
meeny,
say
miny, mo.
Beauty,
Okay.
but I don't know who would win that one.
I'm old too, by the way.
And if you can,
Chambers, 247 Howard Avenue.
and can you raise your right hand? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chambers, I'm assuming you are lot 48? If
Are
you
you
look,
next to Mrs. Clark?
We're across the street from Ms. Clark.
are you, you're not on that map then?
We're on Howard, yeah, hold on a second. We're right here.
Okay, so you're off.
So you're
off.
across
Off
Howard.
the map, across Howard, yeah, about, 100 feet from the
Okay.
property I'm talking about here. Both of my points and questions have to do with elevation. Can I ask a question first about elevation?
You can question and comment.
Was there an option to scoop out ground for the pool as opposed to add elevation?
In order to do that, it would bring the pool down towards the street level.
That's good.
Well, again, and it would not be accessible from the house. What we're trying to do is put the pool at the level of the house.
Why is that?
The residents of the home are going to access this outdoor living space from the rear, from the deck, and then from the attached garage. And that's what I was describing, how we set the elevation of this place. It's pinned by the house, the existing grade at the house. We can't change the elevation of the house. So when you come out of the house, you're at the living space, and then the pool is level. So when you carry it across, that's where we are. If you were to drop that, you would then have steps outside, which is not great for the residents, but it also doesn't fix the problem at the street either, because you're still going to have grade to make up. 7 feet is a huge drop, so there's going to be a slope, there's going to be a wall, there's no other way to work with it.
Well, you do have some steps, right? So you go from 33 down to 30. So you've made a choice to have a minimal amount of steps.
Well, that's the goal.
Right, yes, there's 2 steps there, but it's at the same level as the driveway. There's no steps from the driveway.
Got it, okay.
So my two concerns are that the grade change is dramatic. We go from 6-foot drop across around 60 feet of land to Wilson to that same 6 feet drop across 12 feet of property with the change in terrace.
Mr. Chambers, and I'm going to address this rather than Jason, because he might overcomplicate it. That's not exactly true.
On
And
the
if I can
corners, a lot it is.
No, if I can show you why that's not true.
Can we turn it a little bit, just so community members can see?
So, right now, this is at elevation 30, and this is at elevation 23.
Yes.
So the change of grade goes from there, but when it gets to here, it's already down, when it gets to the edge of the wall, it's already down to 28 here. So it's sloping down from here, so it's not the same 6 feet. We're already sloping down by the time we get there.
My read was that we're slipping down after the pool. The pool's level, like the gentleman said.
Right,
Gotta
what's
keep
the
the water
pool?
level. So right at this corner here, we have a 6-foot drop across 12.5 feet of property. If I got numbers right there.
The 6 feet, so the wall, I'm sorry, the change in grade,
Yes,
which was
change
the
in grade.
focus here, the change in grade at that corner, so that'd be the southeast corner
Yes.
of that patio is 6 feet.
Yes.
That's the 6 feet.
Yeah.
If you go to the northeast corner, it's about 4.8 feet. If you go to the northwest corner, it's only a few inches. And then if you come on the corner by the garage, that'd be the southwest, it's a little under 2 feet. So it varies. The biggest change in grade is that southeast corner.
That's right. And my concern is that 6-foot change in grade is not going to absorb much rainfall, and you're increasing the hardscape. So I am concerned about runoff due to that steep change in grade and the addition of all the pool hardscape.
Well, so according to the grading plan, it's about a 4-foot change in grade, the way you're looking at it. So from the corner to the street, what's a change in grade? The grading plan shows about 4 feet. The change in grade is 6 in that one spot. Existing proposed, the change in grade is 6.
But the
drop
slope is
4 feet.
And again, what's the,
Now,
what's the elevation at that corner?
Or you want the low side or the high side?
At the base of the wall.
It's a little over 27 feet.
Okay, so at the base of the wall, we're at 27 and we're going down to 24. That's at the this is higher, but there's a wall here.
Going down, yeah, the sidewalk is on the other side of that.
Right.
My point is, it's a roughly 6, maybe
No.
5 feet drop from that across that
Pool,
pool.
It's not again.
The pool is flat, and then there's a wall a
Then
couple
there's
of feet.
a wall down,
then
and
it's
at the
4 feet
base
down.
of that wall, it's at elevation 27, and then it goes down to 24.
So the wall's not on top of the grade?
No, right, correct. The wall's holding the grade back.
Right.
Gotcha.
So it at the base of that wall, it's only a 3 or 4 foot grade over that area. So, and the wall is going to be hidden by the landscaping. So there is no, that's the whole purpose of this. So it's not, we're not creating any steep slopes. The same gentle grade is going to be there. It has to be, and if I can just show you on here, if you see these existing trees, if we change the grade, the trees would die, which is why we're not changing the
You're
grade.
scooping out a little collar around the
Only on this
Not
side.
scooping.
No, we're just protecting
behind
them from it. So you're thinking about the change in grade from where the pool is down to the street, but that isn't where the slope is. The slope is at the base of a 4.5 foot wall.
Okay, I need that clarification. The wall is not on top of the change of grade.
No. It's at the bottom of it.
Okay.
The top of the wall is where the pool grade is.
Okay, thanks. So it's a 6-foot change in grade, and top of the wall is 6 feet. So if I'm walking on the sidewalk.
No. The top of the wall is 4.5 feet.
The change in grade.
On
so-
top, wait, excuse me.
Right.
On
The wall is 4.5 plus 1.5.
Right.
On top of a change in grade.
Correct.
So if I'm standing there in the corner of Wilson and Dixon. If I look literally 12 feet, which is at the distance
You're
of
looking
that
at the
wall.
fence.
Yeah, so I'm seeing how high a fence is at its apex. How high is it above me?
It's
It's
all
a
right.
6.5 foot, 6
So
foot wall.
you're
plus-
saying if you're standing in the patio area, how high is
No,
the wall?
he's
I'm
not. He's standing on the sidewalk.
Right here.
All right, so the
Right
sidewalk's at about 24.
Yeah.
Yep, and then the elevation of the top of fence is about 33 and a half. The wall is about 32.
Anyway, my concern
But the
was it's
grade-
the visual block of the wall,
Yeah.
like a fortress more than a.
No.
No, the grade at the bottom of the wall is 27 and a half, so it's only about 3.5 feet from the sidewalk to the grade at the bottom of the wall, and then you're gonna have landscaping. So we were talking about landscaping.
And then on the
Mitigate
other
the
side
wall.
of the landscaping, you're going to have a 4.5 foot wall. So again, what you're looking at is a slope to a 4.5 foot wall with a decorative fence on top with landscaping in front of it. I apologize if we weren't clear that you thought the wall was on top of that 30. Absolutely not.
That's good to know.
The intention of the wall is to create that area so we can decorate around it.
Right.
Can I just clarify this? So if you're standing at the sidewalk, you're looking at the wall. The wall is about 4.5 feet tall. The grade of the pool area is lower than the top of the wall. The wall is 1.5 feet higher than the pool elevation. So there is a little bit taller wall than what needs to be, and I imagine that is for fall protection and for privacy.
That's correct, yeah. The wall and the ornamental fence
Yeah.
together form the code-compliant pool barrier.
But from the ground, you're looking at a 4 foot wall with the 1.5 foot top.
All right.
2.5 wall, I'm sorry.
Ms. Krimko, are you putting arborvitaes or anything around?
We're
the
actually,
outside
rather
of
than,
not arborvitaes, I mean,
we're putting landscaping around the entirety of the wall.
like a hedge of,
We could do a hedge. We were hoping to do
Around the
grasses
outside.
or something a little more attractive or native than a hedge, but if the board wants us to do evergreens and not do a more interesting visual, we can certainly do that.
something around the entire
We are putting
perimeter of
something around the
wall.
entire wall.
Not on the inside from the pool side.
No, no,
I
no.
mean from the,
On the one that you like, you see, you're gonna see there's dark green around all sides of the wall.
Yeah.
That's all landscaping.
but not grass that I'm gonna mow, I mean.
No, no,
No,
no.
no.
Grasses.
Yeah, big ones, yep.
Understood, okay.
Mr. Chambers, any other
Um,
questions or comments?
Suggestion is that for consideration, I'd like to hear their feedback. Could the pool not be put directly behind the house and that long axis, same with the long axis of the house, with just space there?
I didn't follow that.
No, because of by the time you have the 10 feet,
Right here, I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
you
could-
only
without
ha-
the deck.
you only have 20 feet there, so you would have a 10-foot wide pool and it would be up against the
You got
deck.
22.6,
Right.
9 feet behind the deck.
Right.
My question is, could it not fit there and remove the deck? Was that deck currently there?
Yeah, there is a deck currently there.
Could that be removed? I mean, is that an option? to
Well,
put
they are.
the pool deck?
The testimony was that you're removing the deck and replacing it.
Okay, so it will be gone for a short time.
Right.
And that's not an option?
So it's not the application, so we could put a kiddie pool in and not need any variances, and I'm not being cute when I say that.
No, you're not being cute.
No, I'm being serious about it, saying you can always be more conforming. But this is the application that we have before the board, and we put all of the proofs on for it. So the answer is, can you build a smaller house? Always. Can you build a smaller driveway? Always. Can you build a smaller pool house? Always. But this is the application that we're coming and presenting all of the hardships and the reasons under the municipal land use law as to why we believe it's appropriate and the best zoning alternative.
So to answer your question, yes, they could do what you're suggesting, but that's not what's being presented today.
Okay, I just put that out there as a seed to be planted.
No, and again, what I offered before is a pool can be 10 feet from the property line. If it's back behind the house, it's going to be 10 feet from the property line. In our opinion, this is a better zoning alternative because it's moving the noise away from the neighbors immediately to our, is that north?
Plan up.
Plan up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Yes, sir.
That's hurtful, Mr. Chambers.
If you can state your name and your address, please.
I'm Norm Ginsburg, and yes, I do.
Do you affirm to... I need to do my spiel. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth?
Absolutely.
And your address, please.
What's your address?
I'm sorry? 258 Howard Avenue, which is lot 48 back here. Obviously, I'm not in the direction of any of this pool business, but I am concerned because there is a shed there, which, let me back off just a little bit. My opinion, this whole 100-house section of Wilson, Dixon, Howard, Perrine, etc., nothing there except the new houses, and probably not even those, conform to any of the zoning. In other words, they were built before the zoning laws came. I'm too close to these people, they're too close to me, same thing over here, there's no setbacks. This shed, which
shed, is
abuts
that,
my
Mr.
property-
Ginsburg, 1 second, is the shed being removed?
Yeah, the shed's being removed, Mr.
No,
Ginsburg.
I understand that.
Okay.
My concern is, and I'm glad the shed's being moved, what steps are being taken to prevent drainage from coming down here? Right here, the ground slopes back into here.
Well,
On September the 29th, there was a little bit of rain that came down, and we had 7 inches of water in our basement. All right, now, that doesn't happen too often because we moved here in 1977 and never had a drop of water in the basement. I mean, these storms, due to climate change, are a little bit more
Agreed.
frequent. So I'm just concerned that we're not gonna get any extra.
We're not changing the grade there. We're not, Mr. Ginsburg, we're not changing the grade there at all.
No, I understand, but you're taking away the shed.
So you think so what you're saying is
I don't think that the shed is causing, I just.
no, is the shed, the grade
The grade is gonna stay the same.
correct, and where
We're just lifting that shed out and throwing it away, right? There's gonna be grass here. Now, currently, the shed takes rain and pushes it down here on one side, because that's the way the roof is.
Right.
On this side, it goes the other way. I'm just wondering if there's gonna be any change here because of removing that water.
Jay?
Excess.
No, I don't believe there
No,
will be.
I noticed in the plans, which you started off prefacing by saying, we've made some changes to the plans, in the time that I looked at them.
No, sir, the only change to the plan, just so you understand, and we didn't change them yet, we're suggesting we're offering it, the only change we made is add a little bit of deck here. No other change.
That's fine. The change that I'm talking about, I believe, is that there's a downspout here that indicates that it vented out into the ground, and now I believe that you're proposing to put some sort of a piping underground, to open here and shoot it all the way down. I want to know, is that still the case?
That is on the plan, you are correct.
And is that meant to mitigate any extra rain that is coming down here?
It will, yeah, so when the shed comes out, you'll remove impervious, so that by nature reduces runoff. And we're also putting that pipe where you said to capture roof runoff from the roof leader and bring it out towards Wilson, which is where it gets eventually anyway.
No, but he's asking, so that pipe is, so if this pipe, the water currently goes here, this pipe is gonna direct it to here.
That's the pipe I was talking about.
Yeah, it's gonna direct it away from your property. Correct? It's
That's
directing it away
correct.
from his property?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the public? Yes, sir. And if you can state your name and your address?
Thomas Bain, address is 255 Howard Avenue.
And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth?
I do.
Okay.
And Mr.
So how do
Bain,
you spell
are
Payne?
you on the map?
No, he's not on.
No.
You're not.
Is it P-A-Y or P-A-I?
B.
Oh, I thought you said Payne.
No, that's a different pair.
Okay. So how do I spell your last name?
B as in boy, A-I-N.
Oh, okay, got it.
Longtime resident of that neighborhood. I think it was brought up earlier when we talked about the area over here fronting Wilson and the steps. I think you voiced a concern, sir, about the steps. Why are they needed? I agree with that concern. To me, that seems like you're building a community pool. I heard the statement about, well, the friends and neighborhood kids and stuff like that. I'm 63. I've never, ever in my life entered somebody else's property through some back gate. Neighborhood kids, that's, sorry, I don't buy it. That seems to me like you're creating a open space for your friends coming down from New York. Because let's call it what it is. And my concern here is you're parking here, you're parking here, you're parking here, you're parking around the corner on Howard. I live over here on a dead-end street. I have to go past that.
So, Mr. Bain, I think Ms. Krimko indicated
That
that
we'll remove those
they'll
stairs.
remove the stairs.
Okay? That's a guarantee?
Yeah.
If the board approves the application, that would be a condition that the
Yes.
stairs have to be removed from the plan.
Okay.
I just don't want you to have to belabor the point. I think you're on the same page as the board and the applicant.
Okay. Just, yep,
Thank you, Mr. Bain. Okay. Questions, comments from the public? Questions, comments from the public? Okay, motion to close the public hearing. Is there a
Motion to
second?
close.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Very, very briefly, because unlike the attorney that went before me, I know when to stop. That's a joke, and I yelled at him for doing that. I hear what the neighbors say. I hear the concern from Mr. Lineski. We're agreeing that we would amend the plan to eliminate the access stairs from Wilson. We would hard pipe the patio to the trench. We would agree to a condition that there be landscaping maintained around the exterior of the wall. I think that when you hear the neighbor's concerns, the concern is bringing the activity closer to her property. And by approving it this way, while we need the variances as it relates to the front yard, you're actually moving all of the activity much further away from her property than it could be. So for all the reasons that Jason put on the record, and I think all of them are valid, I think as it relates to the neighbor's concerns, this really is the best zoning alternative. She's going to be shielded by a building, and all of the activities on the other side of the building.
Stairs and that gate.
Yes,
Clear.
got
And
it.
it's a solid cabana wall, if I'm not
Yes, a
mistaken.
solid cabana wall. And we can maintain a solid fence along that property line as well. We may replace the existing one, but we can commit to a solid one along that property line.
I just want to make sure, so the stairs and gate on the Wilson side are
Yes.
being removed?
Yep.
You're gonna maintain the fence, or you're gonna replace the fence, or do both?
The plans show a new fence. And what I'm saying is, if we put a new fence in, we'll commit to it being a solid one.
Okay.
That's all.
Well, you have to put it in
Yeah,
the
you
fence, it's
have
on
to
the
put it.
plans.
Not in.
Right, okay. We're going to put in a solid fence.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's along the rear property line, correct?
Yes.
And the solid wall for the cabana.
Yep.
We're also making the concrete a little wider.
That's up to the board. We're happy to if you want us to.
I don't have a problem with that.
No?
No?
No, it's fine.
Just leave it how it is?
I don't
Oh,
really
you-
care if you make it this, whatever we approve, not 1 inch bigger.
Fine.
Do you want it done? Is
No,
what-
it's whatever, I don't care, either way. No.
Doesn't, no.
Mr. Matlack or Mr. Higgins, any reason why it should or shouldn't? No? Okay.
No.
Anything
all I have,
else?
Madam Chair.
Okay. We closed the public hearing. Sorry, I just had a brain freeze for a moment. Is there a positive resolution with the conditions?
I move positive resolution.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Yes.
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 Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And a motion to adjourn. Oh,
So you can make the motion to adjourn.
oh, okay. Yeah. Heard you. Motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.